Hello and welcome to another episode of the Grindbin. I'm Mike Wood.
I'm Chris Mann.
Chris, I feel a little bit ripped off today.
Oh, how?
Well, I feel like I just watched an hour-and-a-half commercial for Six Flags.
Yeah, and dancing.
Yeah, and today we are covering 1979's Van Nuys Blvd.
Van Nuys! Hey, Bobby, I got the money.
Dad, I made the team. But you're a hooker.
Get that goddamn thing out of your mouth.
Head knockers. Spooky got no real poach. Brenda.
We're gonna play a little game, baby.
I just love fun and games. Get a little girl all hot and horny.
You could have was decent once in a while. And maybe Daddy would have had to kill himself because he couldn't get it up anymore.
What a shame.
Come on, just step on the gas before we get creepy. And
Make sure you stay tuned after the movie portion today because Chris and I recently found out that this movie has a director commentary with William Sachs that was very enlightening.
Yeah, and when we say stick around after these credits, it's not going to be some Marvel movie ripoff of your time where you sit around the credits for 20 minutes for a sneak peek of Sam Jackson and an eye patch. This is the good stuff. This is the nitty-gritty of this film that we wish we'd had when we initially done the coverage of this. But this is a hidden gem we'd found on accident. So please, you owe it to yourself if you love this movie.
Yeah, we decided to put this at the end of the podcast instead of before because we didn't want to ruin what we'd originally recorded because we still thought it was funny. So now we can go back and look over some of those comments we made and prove ourselves wrong. All right, so let's dive into a little bit of the background in this movie. So the only thing I could find out about this movie is that it was shot in 18 days. And man, does it show.
Yeah, in fact, according to the director William Sachs, the time between the film's conception and the film's completion and release was 3 months. 3 months for casting, writing, location, scouting, shooting. I don't know if they even scouted locations. I don't know if there was even time for a crew to be assembled. It's kind of like let's bring the camera to Magic Mountain. Yeah. Let's see what happens. Film a movie around Magic Mountain.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
What's the director's name again?
William Sachs.
Okay, well, Bill was probably hanging out with George Bowers, who, by the way, directed My Tutor. He edited this movie.
Yeah.
I imagine Billy and George sitting around, lines of coke going left, right. And then he goes, I got this really great idea for a movie, and it's just going to be about these kids, and they're driving around on this boulevard, and I got a friend, he works over at Magic Mountain, says we can use it, so I'm thinking, like, maybe we just throw that in, make it a big commercial, get a lot of money, had some fucking go-karts in there, and we got ourselves a movie, huh?
Sounds great.
Do you got any more coke?
I'm running dry here.
I'm just going to read a review here from IMDb, which I don't know if it's real or not, but I'd love to believe it is. Van Nuys, one heck of a drive, and heck of a is one word, by the way. 10 out of 10, and the reviewer's name is Chubby9. This was written on September 12th, 1999.
Wow, think about that.
Yeah.
15 years ago.
We were here.
We were freshmen.
We were freshmen when this guy was writing this review. IMDb was like new back then.
I didn't even have cable for internet back then. It was still dial-up.
Oh yeah, AOL baby. Here it goes. Chubby9, which by the way, I'm sorry, Cubby9.
Well, that takes out the mystique, doesn't it? It kind of ruins it for me.
By the way, though, in 1999, really, there wasn't just Cubby. He had to go Cubby-9. Yeah. Only moments into Van Nuys Blvd, and by the way, Van Nuys Blvd is all capitalized. Only moments into Van Nuys Blvd did I realize I was in for something special. I sat in my seat expecting another brainless teenager romp, but boy, was I ever wrong. The film celebrates innocence and individualism while commenting on commitment and making sacrifices. Mix in a little sex, nudity, and a few liberal profanities, and you have a shockingly sweet, amazingly hip teen exploitation picture the whole family could enjoy. Cubby, please email us. We need to have a discussion with you.
Like every other star of these films, he probably died of liver cancer, liver disease, or is dead in the early 2000s. So let's not count on that happening anytime soon.
Oh. Okay.
I sat my neck at the shock of hearing that.
It's a family fun picture the whole family could enjoy. And by the way, it's definitely not just a sex romp.
Oh no, it's sweet.
Just ask Cubby 9, sorry. So William Sachs directed a few movies before this. Nothing you've heard of. There was just The Incredible Melting Man, The Force Beyond, which is a documentary that has no description on IMDb. But I read a review, and somebody called it a Z-grade Chariots of the Gods, which Chariots of the Gods is pretty bad to begin with. So it has Orson Welles listed in the cast, but it's only from archive footage. It's apparently a documentary about aliens.
I can only imagine.
Then he made this movie, Van Nuys Boulevard. Then he made another very popular exploitation sci-fi movie, Galaxina, starring Dorothy Stratton. Another one who died young, by the way.
Yeah. This is kind of the time of the Barbarella films, it sounds like.
Yes. Galaxina was a total ripoff of Barbarella.
Yeah.
His last movie he made, which I assume he's still alive because it doesn't say he's dead, was a movie called Spooky House in 2002. It was rated PG. It's about some kid trapped at a spooky house, and it stars Ben Kingsley.
Wow. So does Ben Kingsley play the kid, please?
I wish. We know that Ben Kingsley will do anything for a paycheck. It's I'm not kidding.
Have you seen Iron Man 3? Yes.
Well, have you seen any Uwe Boll movie he's in?
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
He's not only in one of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so he also wrote every movie he directed. He also wrote a movie called Exterminator 2, which I watched hoping it would be good enough for the podcast, but sadly it is not.
Yeah.
It's just about a man who walks around with a flamethrower and burns people, but it's just not as good as you'd hope. He also produced that, and he also was the co-producer for Leprechaun. So he's done a few things.
He's got some royalty to his name.
Well, can I say one thing about the main cast member in this movie?
Yeah.
Bill Adler.
Bill Adler, yes. Let's get to Bill.
Okay, so I cut it out of the Van episode, but I spoke briefly about Bill Adler. He is actually in the Van. He's in a lot of these movies we're going to watch. If Crown International made a movie, Bill Adler's probably in it somewhere. If it takes place anywhere near Malibu, it's like Adler was just there. This is the only movie he stars in, by the way.
Yeah.
Which is great.
It's so weird.
It's very weird because he always plays like a bit character, and they finally gave him his own movie.
And he still feels like a bit character.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
But Bill Adler's like my favorite Crown International actor, and it's always great to see him in something. Bill Adler doesn't act in movies anymore, but he's still around, and he makes belts. And I own one of his belts. I found it in a Nordstrom rack, and I screamed in the middle of the store when I found it. I was like, no fucking way, a Bill Adler? I immediately took it up to the register and bought it. I wear it every day. It's my favorite belt. Very high quality.
Do you have the matching wallet, though?
No, I do.
Oh.
You told me he does make wallets.
He makes wallets, too. You know, he's also somewhat prolific in the hip-hop world, too.
Bill Adler?
Yeah.
What does he do?
I think he does, like a lot of documentary work, too. I think he's... Yeah.
Shit. Well, I'm a big fan of Bill Adler, and I hope one day that we'll be able to interview him for this podcast.
Yeah,
because that would be great.
He's very active in a lot of the arts, and hip-hop especially. He's very,
I have no ill will toward this man.
No, not at
all. He is
all.
awesome.
Yeah, he's very...
Bill, you're in some of the best movies ever made.
Yeah. Yes.
Just like The Tutor, we're coming for you.
We got her number, too.
We got your number. We know your belts, all right? We know you exist somewhere.
I need to learn some French.
So what do you got on the other cast members?
Well, Cynthia Wood, who played Moon, interesting enough, she dropped out of college in 1971 to pose for Playboy, and she became Playmate of the Month in 1973 and Playmate of the Year in 74.
And 5 years later was in Van Nuys Boulevard.
Yeah. So she got ready for the part. In every way possible. That was a hell of a lot of research.
It's kind of odd because like she wasn't naked that much in this movie.
No.
You would think the Playboy model would have been the one getting naked all the time.
Yeah.
Although, you know, honestly, there's not that much nudity in this movie.
No, not.
It's really,
not at all.
actually, now that I think about it, it's the least amount of nudity we've seen in any movie so
and
far.
sex.
But we'll get to these sex scenes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and she was also in Apocalypse Now, the Redux edition, which it's an extended scene where she's a dancing playmate. And to her credit, I think she's one of the ones that got out of this stuff unscathed. She has a PhD in psychology.
Really?
Yeah.
So that dropping out of high school had no effect.
Out of college, yeah.
Oh, she dropped out of college.
Yeah.
Oh, so she went back.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I would assume. So, yeah.
Wait, is she also a life tutor?
I doubt it. That'd be amazing.
Wait, okay, so 2 movies in a row, both of them have a PhD in psychology?
Yeah.
Huh.
Good for her.
Well, you'd need it to star in one of these movies.
Yeah, maybe it came down to some kind of self-analytical rescuing when you look back on your life and you see yourself in these movies. But, hey, if we can hope for some kind of resurgence for these actors and actresses to get back in the game.
Oh, God. I can only hope. Moon, Tudor.
I want to see a 1965, a 65-year-old Moon go back into the role, slip back into those shorts and those skirts. But, Dennis, who played Greg, he unfortunately died in 2012. He played Greg.
Damn.
Yeah.
Another one gone too young.
Melissa Prophet played Camille. She went on to act in Scorsese films, actually.
What?
She was in Goodfellas and Casino, actually, more notably.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Yeah.
Was she real roles in those movies, or just like,
I think they were bit parts.
Did she have a name, at
I
least?
think they were bit parts, because it didn't credit her
Still, hey.
Yeah.
Good on you, Camille.
From Crown to Scorsese. From
Yeah.
Crown to Casino.
She made it out. She made it out of this bin and into the real movies.
David Hayward, who played Chooch, he is a production manager for a lot of films now.
Chooch.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Chris. According to the trailer, it's the Chooch.
Or Leon, however, Tara Strohmeyer, Wanda, beloved Wanda.
Oh, how can we forget?
The waitress on wheels.
A waitress called Wanda.
She acted in mainly the same kind of roles throughout the 70s, and she ended her career after a movie called The 11th Victim.
So with that, let's take a listen to the trailer.
Cruise night. It's an American tradition that belongs to anyone who loves competition. It's freedom, fun, and fine transportation. You find it happening all over the nation. But the greatest cruising in the land takes place on the street where it all began. Crown International Pictures presents Van Nuys Boulevard, the motion picture that brings together the most beautiful bodies in America for a night of mutual admiration.
Hi. Are you driving me?
Moon and Bobby, Greg and Camille, Wanda the car hop,
I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you with your clothes on.
and the man who calls Van Nuys Boulevard his permanent address,
Is that who I think it was?
the Chooch.
Creep.
Hey, nobody calls Chooch a creep, man. What? Nobody calls Chooch a creep, man. Don't be a hero.
Van Nuys Boulevard, where the whole year feels like a summer vacation.
Okay, the flag is up. Go!
Ladies and gentlemen of the theater audience, we interrupt this advertisement to bring you the total destruction of 2 automobiles.
Van Nuys Boulevard.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm more excited for that trailer than I was the movie. I'm like, I want to watch this again. Holy shit. And I'd just like to say, you can't see, obviously you can't see it. Do yourself a favor and go watch that trailer, because there's a part where it freeze frames on a dog biting its own tail when it says that we now cut to 2 cars destroying each other. And if you didn't know by the trailer saying it about 9 times, this is another Crown International classic. As always, the mark of quality when it comes to exploitation
You
films.
spell quality with a C. Heavy weighs the crown.
So with that, Van Nuys Boulevard, we start out Bill Adler playing a character named Bobby
Yep.
for the third. Okay, 3 of these movies have people named Bobby.
Like the starring roles, the starring characters are Bobby. They're not side characters. It's
Oh yeah, they're
it
all
says
named Bobby.
something, and it's all Crown International. What do you think?
Every single one of these is Crown International.
yeah, there's wow.
Bobby in the Van,
Yeah.
Bobby in My Tutor, Bobby in Van Nuys Boulevard.
Yeah, and they all carry some kind of weird.
Do you think it's some sort of weird inside joke?
It's gotta be, or they're just that lazy, like they don't remember that they named their character.
A lot of
Bobby.
cocaine.
Yeah, well,
So he's leaving work. He's just driving home in this van. He lives in some small town. We start playing this amazing theme song that you're hearing underneath us right now.
yeah. And this van, it appears to have 0 suspension because it's like it's about to nosedive into the pavement at any moment.
Yeah, he keeps talking about how his van's really good, but
There's something seriously wrong with it.
it's like, you know, when you drive down the street and you see like an old car now, like an old 90s car. Even in
Yeah.
2016, you see somebody driving a 90s car, you're like, oh boy. It's like in the 70s, this thing looked like, oh boy. Then we have a girl just getting ready in a trailer. She's in underwear.
And she is like awaiting, like a dog waiting for his master, and that's
Yes.
basically Bobby's piece. And
Yeah.
she's just wanting.
Oh, she's sitting around in her underwear, putting on lipstick, putting on her makeup, just getting ready.
Yeah,
Bobby's piece.
yeah.
So Bobby shows up. He walks in the door. She's like trying to give him kisses and everything. He's like, "Get the fuck off me!"
And mind you, she's in her like bra and panties. She's
Yes.
raring to go.
Yeah. Oh, she's ready.
Raring. Yeah.
Ready. And
Now-
he's just like, "Could you quit touching me? Why are you all sweaty?"
What's a guy got to do? Get a beer around here.
Yeah. He walks in. He's just pissed.
Don't you ever wear clothes?
It's hot, Bobby.
Why don't you turn on the air conditioner?
Oh, I like the sweat. It's more sensual.
Like, what do we know what he does as a job? Because when he leaves
No.
where he's coming from, I thought that was his house, and he's going to work.
He goes from house to house.
Well, maybe he is going to work in a certain way.
I think he works on cars. That's my guess.
Yeah.
Is he? He's just some auto mechanic.
Well, by the judging by his van, it doesn't do a very good job.
it can race.
Okay.
But he's all pissed off. He says stuff like, "Don't touch me. Why are you all sweaty?" She's like,
It's
he's like,
hot.
"Why don't you turn on the goddamn AC?" She's like, "I like it sensual."
Yeah.
What's a guy got to do? Get a beer around here? So then it cuts to her opening a beer, and now she's naked. So
Yeah.
she's
Oh, yeah.
she's so desperate now that she's removed the bra and panties, brings him a beer completely naked. And she's like trying to kiss up on him and everything, and he just wants to read his Van magazine. It's called Van. His Van magazine, and watch the TV where we have a news report about Van Nuys Boulevard.
Oh, this is great.
And all the news report is of a reporter standing next to a cop car at a window, and he's like, "So what are you doing around here? What's going on with the boulevard?"
We're going to start enforcing a curfew. We'll take them down to the station, let them call their parents, you know, the younger ones anyway. Throws a little scare into them.
Well, on what grounds?
Anything we can find. Curfew ain't all. There's lots of things. There's drag racing, noisy mufflers. Look, these kids are wild.
And the cop's just like, "Oh, there's a bunch of kids, and sometimes they're not kids, and we just kind of go around and arrest them, and just put a little fear into
A
them."
little scare into him. These kids are wild, I tell you. They're wild. Well, the cop on the TV, when he's still going at it with the reporter, goes, "Yeah, these kids, some of them are adults," and he stares at him like in 7 seconds, and the reporter's like, "Yeah," just kind of freezes on him like awkwardly, and I think that was like their cue to like, okay, and cut back to Bobby for his speech that he's skipping.
You could
town.
almost hear William going, "And cut."
Yeah. Bobby, go.
So, and by the way, the cop in this interview is a main character of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
So he's like trying to pay attention to this while she's kissing up on him, and she's like, "Oh, what's that about?" And he's like, "It's about Van Nuys Boulevard in California." It's like, "No shit, shut up. What's wrong with you? You never heard of Van Nuys?" And
Do you need to wear clothes then?
he's really upset about this whole thing. So he watches the news report. He's laughing about it, and she's just like, "Oh, what's going on?" He's like, "Oh, I'm upset. I don't like being in this town anymore." you know, I got this van. I have nobody to race with. There's no competition around here.
I'm just bored with this town. I mean, nothing happens here. Besides, my van. I mean, shit, I got no competition here.
So we cut back to Bobby, and she's like, oh, well, what's wrong with you? And he's like, I just want to get out of here. I want to go over there and stuff. And she's like, well, what about here? What about me? You got stuff going on. And he's like, well, I don't know. You're always hanging around the guys at the Bolorama. And she's like, well, I like you best.
Oh, man.
But you know what?
So many problems.
He's had enough. He gets up, walks to the door, and she goes, where are you going? And he goes, Van Nuys Boulevard. And she goes, when? And he goes, now. And that's how the movie starts.
Where are you going?
Van Nuys Boulevard.
When?
Now!
Pack your bags.
We play the theme song again, and we just have Bobby driving for about 2-3 minutes while we see... Is this where the credits is, or do they play the credits? No, I think it's just him driving for another 2 minutes, and it's
again.
just... Van Nuys! Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Van Nuys! And then, like, the lyrics are kind of indistinguishable from gibberish because it's the same. It sounds like the same guy from Super Chick.
Yeah, dirty.
I think
Filthy.
Sorry. The singer of the band in Super Chick. Please go watch that scene, everybody.
Yeah.
It is again like who did we
I
say
think
it
it's
was?
him.
It was like a Joe Cocker got hit in the head with a lead pipe.
Yeah, it's like a Joe Cocker with no talent. Somebody trying to sing it's like Joe Cocker trying to sing karaoke with no words.
Yeah, the Van Nuys theme song.
That was my impression of Super Chick. It's like, have you ever heard that song before? Van Nuys Boulevard. So we cut to Van Nuys Boulevard. We see lots of vans driving. One's called the Orient Express.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I thought maybe was just a Chinese delivery.
I was too. Or a rub and tug on the go.
What an idea.
That is a great
Holy
idea.
shit. You just pull up to any of these places with your rub tug and just go like, $5,
And the gurney rolls out.
40 for the door, 40 for the whore.
The gurney rolls out, you jump in, it rolls back in, and 20 minutes later.
It would totally fit in this time.
Oh, it would. Yep. Oh man.
I saw another van. It was called the Wild Cherry.
Saw that one too.
Then I saw a lot of old-timey cars.
Yeah.
I saw some station wagons, like some real ugly, like late 70s station wagons. You know those ones that look like they put like a house on top of the back of it?
Oh, yes. I saw the one truck where it looked like they were trying too hard.
Yeah. And it's all like multicolored, but not like in a good way.
No.
It's like somebody took the side of a trailer park house, like a trailer, and put like multicolored panels on the side of it. We see cops looking to bust some kids. Then we cut to a guy who looks like Geraldo Rivera driving around.
And what a hell of an introduction to this character.
Oh, so this is the Chooch.
Yeah.
And he does have a Geraldo Rivera mustache. I mean, real old-timey mustache, driving around in his car, which I swear to God is just chitty chitty bang bang.
Choochie choochie bang bang.
Choochie choochie bang bang. So the introduction for Chooch, Chris, tell me.
It's just him yelling at female passerby
So good. This is
with
so
no
good.
reaction whatsoever. Well, you don't get to see the reaction shots. It's just him yelling, and he comes
This
across
is the worst cut footage. Like, this is so bad. It's just like Chooch driving around. It's like, hey, Heather, and then it will cut to like a picture of some lady just kind of looking around her shoulder, but you can tell it's like the worst stock footage trying to cut in with what Chooch is doing.
Yeah.
We go to the drive-in diner here, and we see the waitress, or as the trailer calls it, the car hop, which we find out later is her name is Wanda.
Yeah.
We don't find this out until about an hour into the movie. And she is a main character, by the way. She is in this movie a good 30-40% of it.
Yeah.
We don't find out her name until well over halfway through. And you're quickly going to find out that this movie... Now, we've said some of the other movies have no plot. This movie has zero plot. And I can't stress enough how little plot there is. When we go through this, you're eventually going to be like, okay, but where does something happen? Does something happen in this movie, Chris?
Things happen, they just don't happen for any reason.
No.
They.
I mean, there's no, like, sequence of events.
No.
There's random actions.
Here's what I think you can do. You can take the storyboards for this film, cut them up, throw them in the air, and rearrange it any way you want, and it would still be the same film.
Yeah, you're right. Pretty much any scene could go anywhere. I mean, there's one storyline that goes throughout this movie, and, like, they totally could have cut it.
Yeah.
And you'll know it's the cop, but we're not going to get into that yet.
Yeah.
But so let's start. So we're here at the drive-in diner.
Does this diner have a name?
Oh, does it?
I don't know. I named it. I called it a Slutaburger.
Slutaburger.
I mean, just because, not to shame anything here, but you're going to find out why. Because these waitresses know how to get a tip.
Oh, wow.
I'll tell you.
Yeah. Well, and Chooch will make a comment about it. You probably heard it in the trailer, but we'll get to it later.
Yeah.
And Bobby's going to notice, too. Because the first thing we see is this diner, and we cut to Wanda walking out of the diner wearing... which just is kind of like just these teeny little shorts and like a bra type top.
Yeah.
And she's just walking down, and we follow her as she serves food to people fucking in the back of a van. She just opens the back door, and the guy's like mid-stroke. And he just looks up and smiles. He's like, yeah, and he takes the tray from her.
All right, fries.
So then she comes over to Bobby's van. And he's there.
He's new in town. He has no idea what he's in for.
And you know how we know he's new at town? He just starts staring right at Wanda's chest and never takes his eyes off it. She's like, what do you want? And he's like, huh? And just looks down. And he places his order, I swear, without ever looking up. And then we get a close-up of her chest and just looks down. And he places his order, I swear, without ever looking up. And then we get a close-up of her chest.
Yeah.
And then it just cuts back, and they hit on each other for a little bit.
He doesn't pronounce hamburger right.
What do you have?
Well, I'll take a hamburger, French fries, and a triple thick shake.
A hamburger?
It's a hamburger. I'll have a hamburger, and or it's a cheeseburger.
A hamburger.
Yeah.
A very Christopher Walken-esque delivery, Adler.
Burger, I have two. Please, extra shake on the go.
So she says, you must be new in town because I remember all the cute guys. And we're like, uh-oh.
Oh, boy.
But then we cut back to the boulevard, and Chooch is still driving. And, okay, he says this line, which I really loved, is he's driving down the boulevard, and he at one point he yells out of his car, he goes, get off the boulevard. You can't handle it.
Get off the boulevard, friend. You can't cut it.
I just imagine like some family coming from out of town. They're like, okay, well, we just got to go through Van Nuys Boulevard to get to our hotel here. And get off the boulevard, son. You can't handle it. Oh, gosh. Chooch runs this goddamn street.
He runs the town.
He hasn't seen your car before. Get off the boulevard.
Yeah.
You can't handle it. So we get more of him like yelling at people as he passes by. There's a great part where he's like, hey, how you doing, guys? And then it just cuts to like people on a corner going, yay. He just reminds me so much of Geraldo. It's weird. So then some girls pull up and moon him. And it causes him to like blow through a stoplight. We get a run-in with Officer Zass.
Yeah.
He pulls him over. He knows him well. He's writing him a ticket.
He pulls over and he starts doing his hair.
Yeah.
That's going to help him get out.
Yeah.
And it's followed by an insult. Like, what the hell did you even bother for?
Well, Chooch, more trouble. Where's your bike? Your mama took it away?
Then the cop asks him to rev his engine, and he grabs a flashlight for some reason and points the flashlight while he watches the engine. And he's like, what, I gotta get you off or something like that? It's like, what the fuck is going on right now?
Yeah.
Start your engine. I think I'll write you up for noise. What do you think of that?
Just hurry up. Your mother's waiting for me back at my house.
And the cop doesn't think it's funny, so he arrests him.
Yeah.
But this scene ends.
Cheat, no creep, man.
Yeah, don't call Chooch a creep, man.
Hey, nobody calls Chooch a creep, man. What?
So, Chris, do you remember how this scene ends?
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. Yeah, I didn't even write this
So-
out. I didn't need to.
So Chooch is in the
getting
car.
apprehended in the cop car, and then out of nowhere, a woman decides to come up and just full frontal flash the cops.
She goes, excuse me, officer.
Yeah.
And then just opens her jacket, boobs out, and Chooch just goes, whoa.
Excuse me, officer. officer?
Yeah, what is it?
All right! Woohoo! Yes, I love it! Love it!
So we cut to the diner, and Bobby's being a real dick to Wanda at this point. As he's like sitting in his van, he's getting all antsy, and then Wanda walks up. He goes, "Hey, what took you so long? I'm really hungry."
How you doing? What took you so long? I'm really hungry.
Meet you in the back.
Meet me in the back.
And then they go in the back.
Yeah.
Cut.
Yeah.
Gas station.
Oh,
and here
man.
we go.
Another one of those scenes.
Oh boy, it's gonna start. So this ginger guy, Greg, pulls up with his friend who we'll never see really much anymore of. The friend's drinking a beer out of a paper bag in the car. They go up to the gas station. The gas hop guy comes up and he's like, "How much you want?" And he goes, $1.
Well,
he goes one.
What, a gallon or a dollar? You think we'd waste your time for a gallon? Big
Shows you,
laugh,
man,
bro.
1979. I don't get this humor
The
anymore.
audience was rolling, I'm sure, when they heard that one.
One what? Gallon or dollar?
$1. You think I'd waste your time for a gallon?
So then this is where it gets really fucking weird. And this is where I think Cubby 9 must have noticed that this movie is something real special. Because all of a sudden some guy and a girl pull up in a car. And Greg just looks at this girl and he goes, "I can't believe it's her." And his friend goes, "You know her?" And he says, this is an exact quote, "No, I don't know her. I dreamed about her 3 nights in a row.
Yeah.
We went to an amusement park. I have to go tell her." And his friend, rightfully so, is like, "No, man, I really don't think that's a good idea." But Greg insists, and he's getting real pissed at this point. He's like, "I don't fucking care what you say. I'm going over there."
I'm gonna go tell her about my dream, man.
Hey, come on, Greg, you're crazy.
No.
Besides, look at the size of that guy with her.
I don't care.
Hey, come on, Greg, he'll care.
No, man. Come on, let go.
Come on, Greg.
Let go, man.
And the guy's even like, "Well, look at the size of the guy she's with." I mean,
I feel like this friend is the reason Greg is still alive to this point.
yeah. He should have really stuck with this guy. Eventually his friend goes, "Okay, it's your ass, man, not mine." As Greg insists on going over. So he goes over to her car. He knocks on the window. She rolls it down. She doesn't really want to, but
No,
she
she's
does
not
anyways.
having it.
Yeah, this has got to be the worst pickup line maybe in history. Is he goes, "You're not going to believe this, but I dreamt about you." Greg, man,
Maybe some women find that endearing.
this
Who
is
knows?
a real Bobby from the van.
Yeah,
move.
I was going to say. This is,
Really creep.
Yeah.
Real Bobby move from every movie, to be honest. Real My Tutor move. I mean,
well,
real.
those next few actions we go into later in the same area, it's just very. I thought, this is Bobby. This is pure Bobby. It's like they took.
I know. I really thought they should have called this guy Bobby.
I feel like they used unused ideas from the
From the van.
storyboards and decided to cut them into the scene here. Like this is. I think this is the van redux.
Yeah. Well, let's not get too much into it because
No.
you know our
Oh,
regular
yeah.
feature.
Yeah.
We can't spend all our podcast talking only about the van, although we'd love to. So she rolls up her window and gets his fingers caught in it. The guy she's with all of a sudden notices and gets real pissed. And here's what Greg says to him. He goes, "Hey, no, it's all right, man. I just dreamt about her 3 nights in a row. It's fate, man. You know about fate, don't you?" So the guy goes, "Yeah, I know all about it." And he punches Greg in the stomach. And then Greg falls into some really badly placed oil cans that just happen to be sitting in the middle of a gas station.
Yeah, probably next to an ashtray. Right?
You know about fate, don't you, man?
All about it.
No.
Keep your dreams to yourself, you little turd.
Like there's a bunch of empty oil cans just sitting
And
right
they're-
next to
no,
the
they're
pump.
Stacked. They're nicely stacked, waiting for someone to fall into.
So then the girl he's with gets really pissed, and she goes, "You didn't have to hit him." And he's like going all crazy in the car, and he's like, "Calm down," and he's grabbing her, and she goes, "You can't do anything without using your fists, can you?" And come on now, this guy came over to her window and was like, "Oh, I dreamt about you, and it's like, I don't think he's that unjustified in punching him.
Yeah, you don't
Maybe
know.
not punching him, but telling him like, "Hey man, you need to get the hell out of here."
Yeah.
So then Greg starts breaking this man's headlights and screaming like a monkey.
Yeah, the screaming is incredible.
He gets out of the car and somehow grabs the closest sledgehammer, which is apparently just sitting near the gas pump.
Readily available.
And then hits the back of Greg's car. Greg just peels out. His friend gets out of the car. He's like, oh, I'm done with this. I'm done with this. Probably not a good time to leave the car, by the way.
No.
So then the guy gets back in his car and he's like, oh, I want to kill this fucking kid. I hate him. And his girlfriend's like, calm down. You know, I don't really think, I mean, he did smash all his headlights. I wouldn't be calm in this situation. I'd probably be pretty fucking mad. But I'd be even more mad because then Greg comes and backs his car into his car at like full speed.
God, I'd like to kill that little jerk.
Jason, look out!
Now Greg is completely unjustified.
Yeah, yeah.
Had no business going back there. Like, is that how he's going to win her over? By giving her a concussion? And
Well, apparently.
Yeah, well, we see, yeah.
Yeah, so then we get a scene of these two guys trashing each other's cars, along with the guy who works at the gas station trashing the car, Greg's friend trashing cars. People from all over just start looking at it and laughing and screaming, and it just goes on for about 3-4 minutes of just car smashing, and I'm almost positive this was just one take.
Yeah.
Because you can see there's parts where like the actors kind of stop and they're like,
they get winded.
Yeah, they get winded from hitting so much. They're like, and then they walk over and start hitting a few more times.
And William's like giving him like the turning signal with his finger, like, keep going.
Keep going. Come on, Greg, hit it more.
And then you clearly see them break character. Because they need to take a breather because they're supposed to be hating each other.
And like the camera's like losing focus, like the tripod's kind of falling over.
One guy actually lies on top of the hood. I can't do this anymore, man. The other guy's hitting the windshield, trying not to hit him.
Okay, so in the middle of them hitting the cars, the girl he was hitting on, which we'll find out its name is Camille, tries to hitchhike away, like she's had enough of it, and her best friend Moon just so happens to drive up and
Very
pick her up.
It's a very Crispin thing.
Yeah.
For a tutor to happen.
Yes, because if we learned anything from My Tutor and every Crown International movie, is that if you have a friend in Los Angeles, you can immediately find them. They are only in probably one of 3 locations.
At the right time.
Yeah. Which we'll find out this happens multiple times in the movie where all of a sudden the whole group won't be together, but they'll get together by just random chance. Because there are only 5 locations in all of Los Angeles. So Greg yells in the middle of all this. He goes, hey, man, that's my mother's car. Which it's like, well, you maybe should have thought of this before you started the whole thing, Greg. This is all your fault. So then we cut back to the drive-in diner. And Moon and Camille pull up. Then we cut to one of the most awkward shots is of a hamburger, which I assume is a hamburger.
I
but
thought
there's
it was a sub at first.
There's like no meat in this thing.
Yeah.
It just looks like a bunch of. It's the most disgusting looking piece of hamburger bun with like ketchup all the fuck over it, and like lettuce hanging out of this thing. And Bobby like puts it in his mouth, and then Wanda like puts the other part in her mouth, and they like try to make out through a burger. Oh, it's so fucking gross. Like, I cringed at this part. I was like, how is this? I really hope this wasn't supposed to be like sexy. And they put that shot in the trailer, by the way, which is even, it's like, oh God.
Yeah, this is really going to get the kids out. This is what all the kids do, right? Burger sex.
Yeah, fuck each other through a burger. So then we come back to the gas station. They're all trying to hitchhike out of there because we see their cars are being towed. Some friend of the jock pulls up. He leaves with her, and then Greg's friend leaves him behind. Then we cut back to the drive-in. Bobby and the waitress are sitting in the back of Bobby's van. I suppose it's his van, but it looks like a room. Like, there's like a painting on the wall.
Yeah. There's a blue boy hanging up there somewhere from Super Chick. They just use all the sets from Super Chick.
Yeah.
Just threw them in the van.
So they're all both covered in ketchup and mustard, which is like, first of all, what the fuck is going on in the back of this van?
This is called splashing. I don't know if you've ever heard of splashing, but it's where you take food and any kinds of syrupy, liquidy, splashy things and just roll around and bang in this viscous fluid of food And,
Yeah, well, so I guess that's how, for some reason, he has a can of whipped cream.
Yeah.
He sprays it on her, and then he's like, oh, now do me.
Yeah.
And she starts spraying him, and then they roll around.
Yeah.
I will try it. Come close. I never knew it would be like this. On Van Nuys Boulevard.
I never knew it would be like this. Van Nuys Boulevard.
The travel advertisements for this was, I never thought it'd be like this, and it shows a can of whipped cream on every billboard coming into California.
So then we cut back to the gas station. Okay, this scene. So Greg's still sitting there trying to hitchhike, and this woman pulls up. She is in the trailer, if you watch it, and she's this blonde lady, and you'll probably notice her if you watch it. But she pulls up in like this weird leather outfit.
It's very Halford.
And this motorcycle, and like Greg gets on the bike and they drive off. Then they pass the jock and Greg's friend, and their cars like popped a tire. And here's where I was like, okay, this is getting a little weird. The one guy says, the jock goes, is that who? Greg passes by them and yells his monkey yell. And the jock guy goes, is that who I think it was? Yeah. And his friend goes, yup. And did you see what he was with?
Yeah. So many questions arise at this point.
And then they both look really bummed. So then we cut to that Greg and this woman showing up at a party with a bunch of bikers and a topless woman dancing on a table.
Yeah.
She walks them through this party into her bedroom. We see a lot of shots of this very weird mural on her wall of like rainbows and mermaids. And I wrote that it looks like the side of a van.
It does.
But on her wall. Then we get the first sex scene.
And they're very fixed on this wall art because it kind of juxtaposes between the sex and the wall.
Oh.
Like, there's weird zooms and weird...
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I forgot to mention, though, before they have sex...
Oh, yeah.
There is this... Oh, God, I hated this part so much. There's this part where he takes off her boots, but then right after that, they have just these shots after shot after shot of lips.
Yeah.
Like you're watching Rocky Horror Picture Show or something. Like it just shows her lips, then his lips, and it goes on for like 2 minutes. And I'm not joking. 2 minutes of straight lip shots as no words are said.
And she licks her lips. He kind of does this like half open teeth thing, like. And it goes nowhere.
It's like a dentist's wet dream, is what this is.
Yeah. It was an advertisement.
Oh, look at those teeth.
Press white strips.
I could just see Billy making this movie just being like, oh, yeah, get some shots of those teeth. Yeah.
It's like a tooth fetish, maybe.
Definitely.
Oh.
It's so odd. Or he just really liked those shots in Rocky Horror with the lips, and he's like, let's just put those in our movie so the people might think it's the same thing. Well, now that I think about it, Tim Curry...
Wow.
Do you think it was like hinting towards it?
With the way the makeup on the eyes were.
Oh my God. I never thought of this when I was watching this.
It has to be.
Okay. Maybe it was supposed to be kind of a key to that it is kind of a man that this woman is.
You know what? I think we're giving Crown too much
Blowing
credit.
our own minds here.
Yeah, there's no way.
Director of Spooky House. Capable of anything. If he can get Ben Kingsley in a movie. Then we come back to the drive-in. The waitress goes back on the clock. As I put it.
Off the cock and on the clock.
I knew you were going to say that. Because I guess a lot of people are waiting for their fucking food at this point.
Orders are getting backed up.
Wanda is the worst fucking waitress alive. She's got a lot of she's got a lot in common. Waitresses, by the way, in Crown International movies are nothing more than cum dumpsters because the waitress in My Tutor, who you can just pay $50 to go bang in the back of a diner.
We're on a train on for all you care.
Yeah, this waitress, in the cheerleaders. I mean,
oh yeah.
Any sort of drive-in or any diner is just key for there's somebody there you can pay to have sex with.
I mean, there's nothing underneath her apron. Guaranteed.
No. Moon and her friend, well, they keep, like, there's a part where, like, Moon keeps looking at the car. She's like, oh, I wonder what's going on in there. I wonder what's going on in there.
Yeah.
Which is really fucking weird because they see Wanda come out of this van. And then this is the first time she meets Bobby.
Yeah.
But we're going to get a scene later, which we won't reveal now, which kind of throws all of this out the window.
It does.
So Moon looks over at Bobby in his van, and she goes, what's in that hunk of junk? And he's like, and then they challenge each other to a race. That's all that really happens.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah. Cut back to the gas station. Greg's dropped off. Cut back to a drag race. Moon and Bobby race. Cops stop the race. Cut to a jail, but we cut to an ape behind bars screaming like an ape. Like, we get these ape sound effects.
Yeah.
And then they just pull the head off it, and it's a woman in an ape costume, and they throw her in jail where the whole gang is. This is where Bobby meets the Chooch.
Yeah.
And he starts telling them, okay, I like this part was, okay, so in this jail cell, we have Bobby, the Chooch, Moon, and Camille. Mm-hmm. Moon and Camille are playing paper, rock, scissors, and Chooch is like laying on a cot, and Bobby is standing right above Chooch. They are not 2 feet away from Moon and Camille. And Bobby just goes in and he goes, yeah, so first I met this girl, and then she challenged me to a race, and then, and he starts telling the story. She's right fucking there, man. She's right there.
Yeah.
He's going on. He's like, yeah, you wouldn't believe it. I met this girl. She's great. She's right fucking there.
I think he was trying to be smooth and somewhat semi-complimenting her, and hoping that she would hear him like, oh, he's speaking highly of me.
Moon and Bobby start their very weird relationship of fighting each other and seeing who is more macho, which Moon keeps using the word macho, and there's a part where Bobby goes, you seem to use that word a lot, and then she never uses it again for the rest of the movie, which I just got in my second viewing of this movie within 3 days.
Big macho.
Maybe she's just that self-aware.
Yeah, I'd like to think that maybe
she
was like, oh, you know what, I do use that word too much.
The thing that she reflects and has any kind of dimension to her other than the 2 that we've seen. No.
Okay, so this is when Crown logic comes into place. Because all of a sudden, for no fucking reason, Greg shows up at the jail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I just wrote in my notes, why?
Same. I thought the same thing.
Yeah, he gets dropped off at the gas station.
Again, so shouldn't he have been dropped off at home? Why is he
That's
back
what
at
you
the
would have
gas station?
thought.
Yeah. So he hitches a ride, and instead of going home, he goes back to the station where he has no vehicle for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then after that, he's at jail.
He's somehow in jail.
Yeah.
We don't know why yet. He just shows up, and he's like going to the cop, and it's Zaz, the cop, and he's like, open the door. It's like he's really excited to get in there because he sees the girl of his dreams, and he just like walks over to where they're sitting on the bench, Moon and Camille, and he's like, move over, and he sits right between them.
I got it. He dreamt she was in jail, and now he's got to go find her.
There you go.
Oh, see?
You know, that is true, because he does talk about amusement park, and trust me, if you thought this movie was going to spend a half hour at Six Flags, you're right. So, but we're almost there. Oh, God. I know you can't wait.
Hope you like Revolution.
He goes and he sits between the 2 girls. Chooch starts fighting with Officer Zaz again. Oh, God. And then,
Zaz is on the wall. He's famous.
Yeah. Here's where it gets really fucking weird. Is Moon starts asking Chooch questions, and she's like, how do you know so much? Or he goes like, how come we're all in this same cell? And he's like, they're out of cells, man. It's Wednesday night. It's cruise night.
It's Wednesday night, you know? Cruise night.
You seem to know a lot about this place.
I should, Dolly. Big Al runs me in here every Wednesday night.
It's like, oh, man, they're throwing so many people in jail every Wednesday.
For getting in their cars.
Yeah, for getting in their cars. They just want to put a little scare into them.
Yeah, you know? rattle the cage a bit.
So
sing like canaries.
Then Chooch goes on to say he's in there every Wednesday. Every week, Chooch is getting arrested by Officer Zaz.
Yeah.
And it's like, Chooch, maybe you should stop running your fucking mouth, okay? Every Wednesday you're in jail, buddy?
Yeah.
Maybe you shouldn't leave the house. Maybe cruise night is not for you, Chooch.
not your
Oh,
night.
by the way, have I mentioned that Chooch is like a 40-year-old man hanging out with 18-year-olds?
Yeah.
If I haven't mentioned that yet, now's the time. Chooch is an old man. When I say he looks like Geraldo Rivera, I mean he looks like Geraldo Rivera now.
Yeah.
Like,
the midlife crisis has come and gone, and then it came back again.
So
And it burrowed deeply into above his upper lip.
So then they ask Bobby, Bobby asked Greg, how did you get in jail? Because thank God, somebody at Crown was like, we probably should reveal why he's here.
Yeah.
As time went on, Crown started to understand how to make a movie a little bit more. By the time they're making My Tutor,
Yeah.
they know, like, oh, there's 3 acts in a movie.
We need to plot the first 20 minutes.
Oh, I get it. In the first 30 minutes, we should establish the plot and the hook and the story that's going to resolve itself. But no, in 1979...
The training wheels were still on.
So Bobby asked Greg, hey, why are you in here? And he goes, I was hitchhiking without having at least 1 foot on the curb, which I didn't know was illegal.
Neither did I.
I didn't even know hitchhiking was legal.
Yeah.
But this is a different time that, boy, I wish we lived
Maybe
in.
it was slang for something else.
I think it's more along the lines of him just going there because it was in his dream.
Greg is like, hey, you know what? We should do what we did in my dream. And they all go along with it.
Yes. He goes, hey, you know where we went in my dream was Magic Mountain. We should all go to Magic Mountain. What do you think? How about you, Chooch? How about you, Bobby? How about you, Moon? And the gang gets together. We have our new gang of best friends. They all met in a jail cell.
It's amazing that they were able to post bond together and have money for Magic Mountain.
At first, when Greg showed up,
Yeah.
he's like, hey, like he's standing outside the jail cell, and like Chooch is like excited to see him. I thought he was coming to like bail out Chooch.
I
like,
did too.
Oh, I thought maybe Chooch is his dad.
Yeah.
or
That
something.
made sense.
But no, apparently they don't fucking know each other. So I don't know why Chooch was up waving at him or why. It all didn't make any sense.
No. And it's important to note, apparently, that Chooch says that they won't get out till sunrise. So, it's about 6 a.m.
Yeah.
So, granted, they probably have had 0 sleep, and now they're going to go to Magic
Yeah,
Mountain.
we're all going to take a big nap and go to Magic Mountain. So, he says, how about you, Chooch? And Chooch is like, I don't know, that's for kids.
Yeah.
And he goes, what are you, a chicken? You chicken because you don't want to go on the Revolution? It's a roller coaster, and it has a big loop in it.
Hey, man, this is for kids. Come on.
Kids? What about the Revolution?
What's the revolution?
The Revolution is a roller coaster that you ride upside down in a loop. Hey, Chooch, come on, man. You chicken?
Hey, nobody calls Chooch a chicken, man.
Really simple. Really
Which, by the way, if you've never been to Six Flags Magic Mountain, there is a roller coaster called the Revolution. It was built in the 70s, and it's the first roller coaster to have a loop in it.
And you know what's terrifying about this ride? In this film, it has no shoulder restraints from when you go over
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Look closely. These people are not secured. There's merely a lap bar.
It's like Montezuma's Revenge at Knott's Berry Farm.
Yeah.
It only has lap bars, and you go through a loop. Well, we got this new ride called the Revolution, and I don't know if you heard much about it, William. It goes upside down in a loop. It's the first loop of its kind. You ever heard anything like that?
No, is the loop on its side?
No. Straight up and down. You go upside down in this thing.
How do it work?
It's called gravity.
No.
Anyways, we know you're making a movie, and we would love to have a commercial for Six Flags. And we were thinking, why don't you film your movie here? We know you need another 30 minutes to add to it before it's done. Why don't you just film a scene where all these people get arrested and they say, hey, why don't when we get out of jail, we go where everybody else who gets out of jail goes to, and that's Six Flags.
Oh, you're saving my ass here. I had no idea what to do with the last 30 minutes. I mean, it was going to be more driving and more B-roll footage of the street, but thank God.
Yeah, here we go. You're going to mention the words The Revolution and Colossus.
Does it have the word "the" in front of it all the time?
Yes,
Can I
The
Oh,
Revolution.
I can't call Revolution.
For fuck's sake, if you call it Revolution, nobody's going to know what you're talking about. So we cut to Magic Mountain. They're looking at the Revolution. They're standing below it. They talk about it for a good 2 minutes. Yeah. They're like, oh, so this is the ride, huh? Yeah. Yes, this is the Revolution. See how it goes in that loop? Wow, look at it go upside down. The Revolution is a real revolution. Then we get a lot of shots of the roller coaster, and then we get Greg saying the line, which I know you noticed, is he goes, shit.
What about the revolution?
What's the revolution?
The revolution is shit.
I did hear that.
And I was like,
oh, man.
Where's DeVito? So then we watch them fuck around Magic Mountain for a good 10 minutes.
Well, I'm sorry. We get to watch the entirety of Revolution.
Well, no, not yet.
Oh, no?
Not yet.
Oh, that's
they
right.
fuck around Magic Mountain for a while horrible carnival music plays.
Yeah.
And they're like playing games. And at one point, Greg wins like a big stuffed animal and he gives it to Chooch.
For some reason, he gives it to Chooch. Why he gives it to Chooch? I have no idea.
So then,
oh, there's a girl here, man. I'll give it to Chooch.
Then we see like some girl walking with those giant fake sunglasses on, those big sunglasses. Yeah. We see a lot of shots of Six Flags with horrible carnival music that makes it sound like it's more of a horror land than a theme park.
More of a circus than
a
theme park.
Oh, yes, definitely more of a circus, because then they walk up towards Revolution, and there's a mime standing, like, in the way of the line, and they have to, like, push their way around them. So then Greg will not stop talking about his dream, which is really fucking creepy. He's like, yeah, we gotta go on the Revolution. The Revolution was in my dream.
Did I mention it crashes and we all die?
They're all like, oh, okay, we'll go on the Revolution. And then Chooch is like, oh, I don't know, man, I don't know. And Greg goes, you're in a chicken, are you, Chooch? And he goes,
hey, nobody calls Chooch a chicken, man.
So then we literally watch the entire roller coaster.
Including the tunnels.
Yeah, and okay, I'm going to say this. Again, we live about an hour from Six Flags. Yeah. We've been there quite a few times. I've been on the Revolution a few times. This is longer than the ride. I know. What we watch goes on for like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
The Revolution is about a minute-long ride.
And how many loops are in the actual
One.
ride? Okay,
there's one loop.
How many loops do we see in the movie?
Like 3. And the Revolution, I gotta stop saying the. That ride, if you've ever been on it before, you get up on the lift hill, and it like, because this was in the 70s, this is the first ride to ever have a loop in it. It stops you, and there's all these signs that say, warning, loop coming up, hold on, and it's like preparing you for the just most death-defying feat of your life. And there's all these like warning signs, and you go like 5 miles an hour through that part, and then you drop in and you go through the loop, and it's like a big fucking deal. But they just pretend that's like loop after loop after loop. But the ride goes on forever, and we watch them going in and out and in and out.
I love how they go through the tunnel. We go through the entire darkness. Like, there's a part where we like, it's the screen is like black for 5 seconds because they're going through the tunnel.
I just kept looking at this, going, "What the fuck am I watching? This is just a commercial for Six Flags. Yeah. Like, this is all this is."
They get off. That was great, wasn't it?
Well, okay, now this is where it's weird, is they get off, and the next shot is Chooch going into a bathroom and, like, grabbing all the stalls. He's like, oh, like, trying to find one that's
like
open.
Ripping the doors off.
Yeah, and there's all these people just watching him as he's, like, going dead-legged in there, like, trying to open a door. And then some guy runs out, and he, like, rushes into the stall and just starts barfing.
Yeah.
And, like, everybody comes out of their stalls and looks at him. And then you just see, like, the face of a dad looking real, like, disappointed. So then he comes out. They're all sitting next to the Revolution still, and Greg just starts making fun of him. All the other people get mad at him, And he's like, hey, Chooch, maybe next we can go on the Colossus. And we show a shot of Colossus, which, by the way, if you've ever been to Magic Mountain, Colossus is nowhere fucking near Revolution. It's a good, like, half-hour walk.
Or it's a backwards wheelchair into a trash can.
Oh, boy. Should I say that
Yes.
story? Okay. But hold on, I'm going to finish this. So then he says, let's go on Colossus. And then Chooch just shows, he's like, and he runs away to go barf again. Okay. Now I'm going to do a little sidebar here.
Yeah.
There are two things that have happened to me at Magic Mountain that I'd like to mention in this podcast. Chris was there for neither of them, but I told, he always wants me to tell these stories to people. One, I was at Six Flags for a birthday, and we're waiting to go on X, which is this ride where your seats go around in circles. Like, your seats move freely while they invert while the ride's also over, and it's very disorienting, but fun. So we wait like 2.5 hours to get on this ride.
Yeah.
As soon as we're there, the chair that I'm supposed to sit in pulls up to the station. Yeah. And the chair kind of like goes up on you, like it closes down when it goes down. Yeah. So the guy who's in the chair I'm sitting in, it goes up and catches him on the chin, and he can't get out of it, and he just starts screaming. He's like, ah, ah, ah! And this attendant like runs over, and he's like trying to open the thing on him. He's like, oh my God. And like another guy comes running over, and they're trying to open it. And so they get this thing open, and the guy's like, oh, and he's like panting like crazy, walking out. And this is while like everybody's just staring at this. And then they get the seat open, they open the gates, and the guy points at me and goes, all right, it's ready. And I'm just looking at him, I'm like, okay.
No inspection, no let's shut this down. No, not even a screwdriver wasn't even pulled out. not even trying to screw.
You know, it's like what sometimes they're like, oh, maybe we should retire this car for the day. Nope.
Not even like a smack on the side of the lever.
So I still went on it. Because I waited 2.5 hours. I'm like, I'm not fucking waiting any longer.
Death be damned.
The other thing that happened to me at Six Flags is even weirder. So if you've ever been to Six Flags, there's a Superman ride, and this ride called Ninja. And the way you have to get up to these rides is you have to walk literally on a mountain. It is a very, very long, arduous walk up this mountain, and it's always really hot at Six Flags, so it fucking sucks.
Yeah, the geography of this place is punishment.
Yeah, and this is what I'm saying. Like, Revolution is nowhere near Colossus. Yeah. Colossus is in, like, the parking lot of Six Flags, and Revolution is in the whole other side. It would be like if you were in Disneyland and you were on Star Tours, and then you wanted to go on Tower of Terror. It's a walk,
yeah,
you know.
Moses wouldn't lead his people through this shit.
So you have to walk up this huge hill, and Ninja is on the top of this mountain, and Superman is a good walk down the hill towards, halfway down the hill. Okay?
These hills are steep too.
Very steep.
Yeah, the grade of
That's what I'm saying. It's a horrible walk, and they actually have like a tram you can take up there, and it never fucking works, which is even more annoying. So I'm standing up outside of Ninja, and I hear this blood-curdling scream. And everybody looks over to see a man in a wheelchair going full speed down the hill. He goes, ah! And he's screaming, going full speed down the hill where Ninja is.
Is he facing forwards or backwards?
Forwards. He's facing forwards, and the guy who was apparently pushing him is like running after him, going, oh no! And this guy's going full speed. He goes, ah, ah, ah! He goes full speed into a trash can near Superman and just pushes this trash can for a good 100 feet. And everybody was standing in horror because there's nothing we could do. We're just standing there going, oh my God. So back to the movie.
Oh boy.
Now we cut to a dance club, which I thought they were still at Six Flags at this point. And I was like, well, I've never been to this part of Six Flags because we don't have any idea where we are geographically.
Well, because let's after that, they're like, let's go to classes. Let's get out of here. It's like, so you spend that money to go on what, 2 rides at Six Flags and then you bail?
Well, did they say let's get out of here?
Yeah.
Because all I remember is them going, let's go on Colossus. Hard cut to man inside like what I thought was the restaurant at Six Flags going, and for your enjoyment, ladies and gentlemen, their first trip ever to Southern California. What the fuck's their name? Oh, yeah. Their first trip ever to Southern California, the Kansas City Glitter Girls with their song Van Nuys Boulevard.
Oh, who knew?
Which, okay, they're apparently, I'm playing the song for you right now. Gonna boogie down to the boulevard is what they keep repeating over and over. They just watch these people dance, these women dance for a while.
No, they got to get the whole song in there.
And my question is, why?
Yes. There are many. This is the second why of many that are probably hidden, but this is a big why.
Are the Kansas City Glitter Girls some sort of like band that we should know about or something, or dance group?
Like, you know as well as I do, the words "runtime" come into play.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I watched this. And then Chris and I were texting today, and he said something about like, oh, the only thing I really hated was that fucking dance scene.
Because it eats up a good chunk of this film, and your attention really wanes because this film gets up to kind of a rip-roaring start.
Yeah, yeah,
it gets your attention.
It's an hour and a half. It starts to go by real fast, but then it will have scenes like this that are just, oh my god.
Yeah, the energy, the momentum, it just flatlines.
Yeah. So then Bobby goes, too bad Chooch is in here. He would love this. And then everybody laughs, but for some reason Moon gets really mad, and she goes, why do you always pick on him?
Yeah.
And like, Bobby's like, whoa, he was just kidding around. We were kidding around, right, Greg?
What's her
It's like,
connection
Jesus
to
Christ.
Yeah, lay the fuck off.
Why are you always picking on Chooch?
Come on, Moon. Greg's just kidding. Aren't you, Greg, huh? Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, sure. And why do you stick up for him anyway?
Moon, as you'll find out, is real bipolar. Yeah. Sometimes she's fine. Other times she's a real bitch. Like, she gets real pissed. So she just storms off. And then everybody's like, oh, don't you know that she likes you? To Bobby. And he's like, does she really? It's like, you hung out with her all fucking day, man. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah. They were really
like, they're
close.
like arm in arm on the roller coaster and everything. And he's like, wait, she likes me? Oh, I would have never guessed.
Yeah.
So then we cut to beach.
Oh, yeah.
And Wanda from the diner is now with Officer Zaz in a car on the sand at the beach. And where is this beach? I don't fucking know. I don't see a road for miles.
No, there's not.
So he was just like trolling around the grass and then goes like, oh, here's a spot I can park my car.
Yeah.
So, okay, this is amazing because she's like naked in the car. He's trying to have sex with her and she keeps saying no. And then he says, here's the lines. Why did you ask me to come out here? And she says, you said you would take me home. This isn't my home. And he says, I'll take you home when we're done here.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Shameless.
So then there's this whole part where she's like, oh, yeah, if you go outside, I got a surprise for you and everything. And he's so fucking gullible. He believes it.
So he strips down to his underwear at this point.
So then she tells him to close his eyes, tells him to walk over to the car. She grabs his handcuffs him to the car.
Yeah.
The only reason I mention this scene is because we will keep cutting back to it.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a subplot at this point.
Yeah,
And
subplot, yet it's the only plot. So, cut back to dance.
God.
Bobby has about 6 empty drinks in front of him, and he's like so fucking trashed apparently at this point. And he's like, "You want another drink?" And she's just kind of like, I think we've had enough. How about we go dance? And he's like, after I finish this drink.
Yeah.
And some guy comes up, asks her to dance. He tells him to get lost. She laughs, says something like, "Oh, you can't dance." Oh, God.
You know what I feel like? The scene is the same dance scene from Super Chick.
Yeah, it goes on.
No, I'm sorry, Chatterbox, when she's on the
Chatterbox.
dating
Yeah,
show.
yeah.
I feel like this is like the same. It almost could take place at the exact same time.
I think it's the same bar.
It's got to be.
So they just dance for a long time.
Yeah.
An entire song. I honestly think it's at least 5 minutes, maybe more, of just people dancing. Yeah. And we'll cut to very like low angle looking up at like Moon and people dancing, and then we'll cut to crotch shots of the Kansas City Glitter Girls dancing.
And like tight ass plastic pants.
Oh yeah, the woman with plastic pants is amazing. They're like a pair of Levi's but plastic. Yeah. I just wrote down runtime, baby.
Yep.
I just imagine them being like, well, we needed to clock in at 93 minutes.
You mean the revolution wasn't that long? Throw in some loops in there. We got a couple of loops.
Make that dance scene longer. We got a lot of footage of that. Then we cut back to Cop in the Beach. Wanda leaves him stranded. He's like, where are my keys? She throws him in the sand.
And he's handcuffed outside of the cop car at this point.
No clothes on except his underwear.
Yeah.
But he does say this great line, which take into account why they were there and what he said to her before. He says, I'll do anything. What do you want? Money? A car? Okay, Wanda, I'll marry you. Dude.
After attempted forcible rape, marriage proposal is usually not on the table.
Yeah. So then we cut to Greg and Camille in a van. And she says, this is where this gets really fucking weird. He's like, so let's go down to the beach. Moon gave us her van for some reason. And she goes, no, you know where I really want to go is in my bed, in my home, in my bedroom. Yeah. And he's like, what are you kidding? Your parents are there. And she's like, I know, it'll be great. It'll be good. And he's just kind of like, yeah, well, okay.
Stupidly goes along with it. And you know this is a setup gag, which is the oldest in the book.
Yeah, but before we get to that, we just get this shot of Chooch driving down PCH. Wanda's standing on the side of the road. She flashes him. Yeah. Asks for a ride. He agrees. Cut to Greg sneaking into a bedroom window. He gets undressed. He gets in the bed. He starts cuddling with this lady. Yeah.
It's very grown-worthy. Yeah.
What did we find out?
Well, he starts kind of smooching up close to her, and we pan out and we see another man in the bed, and it's her parents. Whoa, big comical laugh. And then
there is this great part.
She feels around, and she feels both him, and then she feels the husband.
It goes on forever.
Yeah, it's back and forth, and then she leans over and looks at Bobby. I'm sorry, Greg.
Correct.
Greg, yeah.
Who you just want to call Bobby.
I just want to call him Bobby. Looks at Greg, and Greg has like this grin like, hey, you got me. But let's keep going, right? This is good, right? And she's blood-curdling scream. And then he gets up, tries to run out the window, and she goes, honey, where'd you put my gun?
I love this part. He goes, hey, you, stop. Mildred, where's my gun?
No! Where's my gun? Mildred, where's my gun?
Get him!
Like, why would she know? Did she use it last? Why was it last used?
But she starts screaming. She goes, get him. Go after him. Cut to Chooch in garage, working on his car. He's like not paying attention to Wanda. He's really buffing that chitty, choochie bang bang. She goes, don't you recognize me? And he goes, oh shit, I didn't recognize you with your clothes on.
Yeah.
And she's like, what does that mean? And he's like, oh, well, over at that diner, you're not really looking at your faces, Yeah, Chooch, coming on real well here.
Chooch-a-nova.
Okay, this part, she has a cigarette pack rolled. Did you notice this part where she has the cigarette pack rolled on her arm, and he goes like, oh, no, you're not doing it right. It's an art form. It's like rolling a joint. Like putting a fucking cigarette pack in a shirt?
Because Chooch has it executed perfectly in this film.
Yeah, by the time of 40, Chooch got it right. So then she goes like, oh, Chooch, you got any weed? And he gets all weird about it.
Yeah. I think that's a deal breaker at this point.
What the fuck's going on? I'm like so confused at this point. They walk into his house. Did you write down what he does next?
No.
He just starts picking up weights. and he's like weightlifting in the corner.
Yeah.
And she's like, how many you do? And he's like, I don't know, I don't count. Then she like picks up one of his trophies and drops it, and he's like, it's okay, I got more. And then they make out.
Yeah.
Cut to beach. Moon and Bobby drinking a jug of wine, which looks suspiciously like another jug of wine from another movie we've seen.
It does.
Moon and Bobby are very drunk. And he says something like, what are we going to do next? And she's like, what do you mean, tomorrow? And he's like, no, I mean right now.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I don't know. And he's like, why don't we go for a walk? Go skinny dipping. And she goes, no. She gets like really defensive about it.
She's a lady after all that.
No, it's cold. I don't like the idea of skinny dipping. And he's like, why don't we just go cuddle? She's like, okay. They're standing on a yacht, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's a big sign in the back that says Malibu Yacht Club. Just so we know where we are. Yeah. Bobby falls off the yacht, but at the same time pulls a real Crispin Glover and apparently grabs her top and pulls out a boob as he falls.
You big slut.
You want to know if he planned this move, too, because I'm like, wow, that's really... How fortunate.
For him. He's like, whoa, and then he falls down and their tit just pops out. So then we get a sex scene, which is like every goddamn Crown International sex scene, which has three things. Face rubbing, lots of back, so much back is what I always put.
Yeah.
And feet and ankles. All three, the trifecta. How do you know it's a Crown International sex scene? Face rubbing, so much back, feet and ankles. So, but I do love this part, how the sex scene ends. Yeah. We pan out to see that they are fucking in the van with the doors open in the daytime while the beach is like the waves are crashing on the beach behind them. I'm like, you guys can even shut the fucking door? Cut to cop on the beach. He's still stuck in that car, handcuffed to that car, and we hear the radio saying he's missing.
All units be on the lookout for Officer Al Vast, last seen in a black and white driving with an unidentified woman along the Pacific Coast Highway. The officer is not checked in and is assumed to be a runaway.
He just went AWOL from the police force. Then we go to a go-kart race. Go-kart speeding around a track. Again. Somebody beats the record. Okay, that's what you have to say.
No, at this point, you really do feel like this is like a tourist video, promotional video for California, for Los Angeles. It's like...
It is. It's so fucking weird.
It's like every activity, leisure...
Okay. We are two-thirds of the way through this movie.
No plot.
Nothing has fucking happened.
No, it just...
Not one thing. All we've seen is people get in a race, trash cars, get arrested, go to Six Flags, and fuck each other. That's and a 10-minute fucking dance sequence.
Yeah. It's just things happening in a sequence that you can rearrange in any way, and it would still make little to no sense at this point. But
like you said, any scene can go anywhere, and it would still make the same amount of sense. So we see this go-kart speeding around the track. They break the record. It's an old lady named Gertie. However, I wrote down that she looks a lot like Granny Clampett from the Beverly Hillbillies, because she even puts on the hat, and I'm like, I think this is supposed to be Granny Clampett.
Yeah. It's gotta be.
Because I wrote, she looks like Granny Clampett. Is it?
Probably.
So then we see Chooch racing around the rack, and he's like, come on, Choochie boy. Come on, Choochie boy. Like, psyching himself up. Wanda's watching. She's like, come on, Chooch, you're going to break the record. So he breaks the record. The guy who works there comes over. He's like, oh, you just broke the record. The other person's going to be real pissed. And he's like, let him be pissed. And he goes, it's not a he. And then Gertie runs up, and she's like, Chooch, you son of a bitch. And starts hitting him with the purse.
I'll give it to him on that one. That's
good.
Yeah.
Okay, cop on the beach.
And at this point, he's like covered in like sun sores.
Oh,
and,
yeah,
like,
I wrote this. It's starting to get real gross. Okay, so he's been here for...
Full-on castaway at this point.
I'd say definitely about 16 hours at this point.
Yeah.
So this biker guy walks up. And he's just drinking a Budweiser on the beach.
How did this biker get here? This is
I don't know.
supposedly in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, people will come up.
Yeah.
Apparently, this beach is not easy to access. How the fuck did he get his car on there?
Because we see, like, on each end, there's like a big cliff stop.
Yes,
into
this
the
is
water.
cliffs in Malibu.
Yeah. And you cannot get a vehicle anywhere.
If you've
near
ever
this
been
place.
to Malibu, there is quite a bit of beach that is not easily accessible. And they're apparently in one of these places. So the biker comes up. He robs him. Takes his gun. Takes his badge.
And his money
And he's
out
just
his
like,
wallet.
yeah, you're gonna get in trouble. You're gonna get in trouble. And the guy's like, I don't care. And he says, why won't you help me? And he says, 'cause you're the man.
And he puts his beer on the roof of the car.
Yeah. He's like, can I have a drink? He's like, sure. And puts it where he can't reach it.
Now here's where logic. I would have just sort of like kind of pounded it with my fist and get the movement of the car to get the cup towards me. It would have worked.
That's an idea.
It would have worked. But no, Zaz.
So
isn't that.
Zaz is just dying.
Yeah.
He's dying a slow, painful death.
Medically, he's going to die.
And Wanda would be definitely arrested for murder at this point because she has not told anybody where Zaz is. You know, maybe she could have done him a solid and called the police and been like, I saw him out in Malibu. No, she didn't give a fuck.
Well, it's also Zaz's fault. I mean, yeah, the whole rape thing not really going well in the book of anything, but he could easily, from where he's handcuffed to the van, get his one leg over the other into the car where he's baking and burning alive from the sun. You realize that, right? He could easily.
You're right. Like he could.
The windows are open in the squad car.
He could somehow work his way into that car
easily. One leg over the other, over the window, and the passenger side, front passenger side, and he's fine.
Wait, so okay, the way he's stuck in that car, by the way.
He's not stuck in the car. He's stuck outside, attached to it.
Yeah, but like his hands are through both windows.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So the only thing is like the part of the frame of the car.
Right.
But he could reach for the radio.
Yeah. Well, if he got his technically no, if he would really have to stretch, but I don't think he could. He could though get his body into the car. And
Do I care? No. I hate these fucking scenes. I wish this part didn't fucking exist because it's so goddamn dumb.
Yeah.
And every time we cut back to Zaz, I'm like, ugh, I can just take a break.
From the dancing of the.
So what happens with this biker? Nothing. He walks away, and Zaz calls him the F word a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And we don't mean fuck.
Yeah.
Real chatterbacks lines. Savage streets. So then we cut to Chooch and Wanda playing air hockey. And she's like, where'd you get the name Chooch from? He doesn't want to tell her. She asks him what his real name is. She keeps pushing. He doesn't want to tell her. He says it's Leon.
Big revelation. Killed
So-
in about 3 minutes.
This is another time where it's like, if you have friends in Los Angeles, you always know exactly where they are. Because all of a sudden, the whole gang shows up, and Chooch goes, oh, here's my friends.
Yeah. It's the place to be.
His friends. They've known each other for one day.
Met each other in the Slammer, went to Six
Yeah,
Flags.
good buddies.
Yeah.
So here's where it gets weird. Wanda and Bobby lock eyes. They're like, oh.
Yeah.
They banged before.
Yeah.
And then Chooch is like, you guys know each other? And he's like, no, my name is Bob. And this is Moon and Greg and Camille.
You two know each other?
What? Oh, no, what?
No, it just looked like you knew each other.
No. Hey, how you doing? I'm Bob.
Okay. The first time Moon saw Bob was in his van when when Wanda came out of the back of that van.
All bow-legged and such.
Yeah. And they were laughing about it like, oh, somebody got fucked in that van. She knows he fucked her.
Yeah.
I mean, she saw it.
Yeah.
Unless, here's what I was just thinking.
Okay.
Just like Chooch, she doesn't recognize who she is because
she's got her clothes on.
She's got her clothes on. Which, by the way, she doesn't really, because Wanda is playing air hockey with a shirt, only a shirt, and no bra, and it's like loosely tied. It's like she has a flannel shirt on that just has some simple knot, and her boobs are still hanging out everywhere.
Yeah. That's typical wardrobe.
It's like she's going to work.
Yeah.
So then, we need to kill a little bit more time. So what do? We watch them all play video games for 5 minutes.
And it's the greatest exhibition of pinball I've ever seen. Chooch tries to teach Wanda how to play this car game.
Oh, God. I wrote it down.
Yeah.
I wrote this down.
Please do.
So, Chooch is playing some, like, racing game with Wanda.
Yeah.
She's trying to play, and he's like, no, turn left, turn left, turn left, turn left. No, that's a wall. No.
The wall, you found it. Yeah, it's good. No, the other way. You're going backwards. Other way. Come on, woman. Back. Come on. Put it the wall again. See, the wall is the white there. That's the
What?
She can't get the simplest fucking instruction. Turn left. Wanda, left.
This game
left. No,
has
that's straight. Left.
This game has one fucking knob. It's a joystick. I think it's like a trackball.
No, it's a goddamn steering wheel.
Yeah.
It's a fucking steering wheel. He's like, left. Turn left. No, that's straight. No, you hit a wall. No, left. No, not right. Oh. And we just watched this and I'm not joking, about 3 minutes of Chooch trying to get her to drive this wheel.
How much money he blew on that game. On that girl.
He blows some money, she blows him.
Everyone goes up a winner. The pinball, though, is just
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Love it.
Well, I love this one part where it just shows Camille's playing pinball, and she goes, ha, ha, look at my score. And then Greg just looks over, he goes, yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Way to win her over, buddy.
Yeah, that's nice.
Numbers, I don't know what those are, though.
So then we cut to Moon and Bobby playing pinball.
Oh, yeah.
And Moon's playing, and she's like, I'm going to do it. And Bobby's getting all pissed. He's like, and Moon's like, I beat your score. And he's like, you tilted the machine, Moon. You cheated. You didn't beat my score. You tilted the machine.
And he won't let it go.
No.
You tilted the machine.
You tilted the machine, Moon. What are you talking about? That's not the way to play, you know. It's not fair.
She doesn't let it go because we cut to them going back out to the go-kart track, watching Chooch race, and he's still gone. He's like, you tilted the machine, Moon. You tilted the machine. That's cheating. You didn't beat me, Moon.
I feel like I was watching, like, George Costanza for a minute.
Yeah,
like,
and it's
going
like
off on a lane or something.
Look, you tilted the machine, Moon. That's why you won.
Oh, so you admit I won?
No, I'm not saying you really
well,
won.
Well, you say I cheated.
Bobby, take it fucking easy.
Yeah.
And Greg even looks around and he goes, when are you two going to put on some gloves and duke it out?
These kind of problems before the relationship, these guys shouldn't be hanging out for that much longer. I mean, okay, they met in jail. That's
yeah, well, they've only known each other for like a day.
Yeah.
And he's already fucked her in an open van near the beach, so.
Yeah. Where do you go from there?
So then he says, well, we haven't dragged yet. And she goes, I'm all for it. And then Chooch says, maybe, oh yeah, Chooch isn't in the go-kart. Chooch is in the stands. He says, we'll just do it tomorrow. I know the place. And I wrote, we finally have some sort of event. 1 hour and 10 minutes into a 93-minute movie, we have one event that's going to happen. Now, when I tell you the next few scenes that fucking happen before this drag race, you're going to be even more confused. In that, why the fuck do we even have it? Nothing happens in this whole movie.
Runtime.
So then, the person in the go-kart beats Chooch's time. It's the granny. She pulls up and she just yells, up yours, Chooch. Up yours, Chooch, up yours. And he gets all mad and everybody laughs and he goes, this is not funny. Everybody gets real pissed in this movie.
Well, yeah, man. Reputation. The Chooch has a rep.
Yeah, the Chooch, baby. Yeah. Cut to Officer Zaz on the fucking beach again. This is when I wrote, yeah, he has all these horrible burns on his back. He looks like he's about to die. A dog shows up. And then we watched for 3 minutes as he tries to get this dog to get his keys. Mm-hmm. Dog ends up picking them up. Then he drops them and buries them in the sand. And Officer Zaz says,
No. What are you, retarded?
To the dog.
Just very sad.
Yeah, this goes on for minutes.
Yeah.
But I love at the very end of it, he goes, bitch. Dog walks away. Cut to beach volleyball.
I admit at this point I was tuned out by this time. Tuned the fuck out.
This movie started with so much promise
at this point.
You know, this movie would be really good if you just drank like continually throughout it. Mm-hmm. So by the end of the movie, you think you're still having a good time.
Yeah.
Cut to beach volleyball game. The gang plays beach volleyball. No Chooch, but the rest of the gang. Why does this scene exist? No fucking reason, but I'm about to tell you why. Because it's all set up for a good joke that you'll never see coming. Well, 2 jokes, really. Greg then says, I'm going to go get a sub. Does anybody else want one?
Oh, man.
Nobody else wants one. But before he goes and gets that sub, we get joke number 1, which he notices a van rocking back and forth. And he goes, is everybody okay? Everybody okay?
This fucking scene.
God damn it.
She didn't like this part?
No.
This is like my favorite scene of the whole movie. So he just opens the door of this rocking van, which a pig runs out onto the beach. And the pig's just like running over. Like at first he's laughing. He's like, and then all of a sudden the pig starts terrorizing people. Like running through their stuff, and Greg gets all like kind of weird, and he goes, and then kind of walks away, like, oh man, I've done something bad. Then a guy comes running out
in overalls.
Yeah, he looks like some sort of farmer.
Stereotypical. What is he doing at this beach? We have no idea.
Yeah, but he comes running out with his snack bar food, and he goes, Reggie, and then starts chasing the pig around the beach.
Waka waka.
Then we cut to a helicopter flying overhead, and they're in a loudspeaker going, officers ass, we're still looking for you. Then Greg runs into some girl. He's like, hey, how you doing? She smiles at him. He smiles back. Why is that shot in there? Don't fucking know. But then we cut to the biggest gag in this movie. The old sub shop.
Yep. But Italian. Any stereotypical thing you get in this movie, it's in here.
Okay, so you know how my tutor, you're half Mexican.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm half Italian. Actually, over half Italian. And I got to tell you, you know what I love more than anything is when we have a nice stereotypical Italian. Because I can tell you, me being part Italian, I always walk around and be like, hey, what's a meatball? Get a fucking pizza. Yeah.
Well, you'd work at Round Table Pizza.
Yeah, when I worked at Round Table Pizza as a kid, I was like, hey, you want a pizza? Pepperoni. Twirling over my head and shit, you know? Actually, the only reason I got hired is because I'm Italian.
Yeah.
So Greg also happens to be part Italian, which let me tell you, no, he's not. No, he's not.
No.
I have never met a ginger person that's Italian.
Fiery red hair.
No. I'd say, Greg, somebody lied to you. Probably Ireland, buddy. So the Italian guy's like, oh, you're Italian, I'll make your sandwich nice and big for you. Here's some meat. This sub, fucking so much meat. I mean, this is a coronary on a bread. Like,
the sandwich it's about the size of a possum.
Yeah. It looks horrible.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he's like, you want any more? And he's like, yeah, put a little more of that stuff on it.
And he puts like one piece of salami on the top. I'm like, oh, yeah, that'll do it.
Which, by the way, he puts everything he has in the whole restaurant on this stuff.
The whole day's wage is blown on this one sandwich.
So then he gives it to Greg. He tries to take a bite of the sub.
Yeah.
And then he screams because his jaw has locked up in an open position. He's like,
What's the matter?
Cut to hospital. A sassy nurse sitting behind the counter. Greg comes up and tries to tell her a problem, but he can't talk. So she gets really pissed about it.
Now, for the last time.
Okay, miss. You see...
Ms.
And everybody else is trying to explain. They're like, oh, no, you don't understand. She goes, shut up. Shut up. He needs to tell me himself. Tell me what's wrong with you. And they're like, no, lady, you don't. Hey, am I talking to you? No, I'm talking to him. Tell me what's wrong with you. And he can't talk. So eventually somebody gets out. He's like, he can't talk. He got his jaw open. She's like, okay. Well, I need to know your name before you can get to see a doctor. And it keeps going on, and he's like,
and the audience is rolling in the aisle, I'm sure.
Yeah, and she's like, what?
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 Yeah.
It keeps cutting back to her going,
extreme close-ups.
So we go through this all the fucking time. And then she's like, somebody goes, well, his name's Greg. And she goes, well, what's your last name? And then everybody looks at him and they goes,
yeah,
well, Greg, what is your last name?
Finally.
And he's like, and she's like, what? Spell it out. And he tries to grab the form and she goes, no. Only I can fill out this form. You can't touch it. It's against regulations.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I don't know what to do, lady. What are we supposed to do? And she's like, well, he can't see a doctor unless I get his last name. So then finally Bill Adler interrupts and he goes, if we don't get to see a doctor down here right now, I'm going to close your mouth permanently. And she goes, you can't talk to me like that. And then she calls the doctor.
Yeah. She's all bark, man. All bark.
But not before we get one last gag of a guy coming up, and she goes, now what's your problem? And he puts a bowling ball on the counter, and his hand is stuck in the bowling ball.
Yep. You know why? Because they had a bowling ball as part of the production design, and they go, what do we can do with this bowling ball? Oh, we have a hospital scene. Oh, bowling ball to the set, please. It's the same logic.
So it's like,
as the
I can't tell you
bearskin
too,
rug.
by the way. We're almost done with this movie, and it is. It's like at the end of this, I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So then we get Greg comes out. He's fine. They ask him what's wrong. He tells the whole story about how he tried to eat this sub and his jaw locked up, and then he laughs and his jaw gets locked up again.
Yeah.
Oh, well, not before the doctor walks out.
Yeah.
And he has a cast over his thumb, and Greg goes, oh yeah, sorry about that. And then the bowling ball guy walks past him and he goes, hey, good game, huh?
God,
like,
man.
what the fuck is going on? So then, Greg laughs, his jaw locks back up, and he runs back into the emergency room, and they're all laughing, and Moon turns towards Bobby in her real jerk way and goes, I don't think he was kidding. It's like, calm down,
Damn,
Moon.
Moon. Jesus.
Cut back to cop on the beach, officer's ass. Radio keeps asking where he is, and then they says, your mother called and she said you could have your room back.
Oh, man.
Cut to Camille and Greg at her house. Oh, okay, this is a good part, though.
Yeah.
Greg and Camille walk into the house, but Greg doesn't walk in. Greg, dressed as a woman, walks in, which looks strangely like that biker lady from the beginning of the movie. And her dad and mom are sitting in the living room, and her dad is like eating popcorn, kind of like shoving it in his mouth real salaciously.
I've never seen anyone eat popcorn.
Like he's like has the popcorn and it's like falling out the bottom of his mouth. It's
like
falling out the bottom of his hand into his
he's
mouth.
Eating it with like a monkey's claw position in his hand.
Like his hand's locked up and he can't move it, and he's like, and he's got a Budweiser, of course, because Budweiser, always in this movie.
And he's giving her the old fuck eye.
Oh God, he loves her friend. And even at one point, Camille's mom, Mildred, goes, she's very pretty, isn't she, her, Camille's friend? And Dad goes, yes, very, very pretty, very pretty. Cut to Chooch's garage. Bobby and Moon working on their vans. Chooch and Wanda head out in his Choochie Bang Bang car. Cut back to Camille and Greg in her bedroom. They start making out.
And he's still wearing lipstick.
Okay, this is what doesn't make sense. Okay. Yeah, oh yeah, she walks into this room, the guest room apparently, where Greg is. And he's still in full costume.
He's in the wig.
He still has the wig on and all the makeup. And she comes in and pulls off his hair. And he's like, are they in bed yet? She's like, yeah, they're asleep. So then we cut to the parents' room. And Dad wakes up and he goes, Mildred, are you awake? Mildred? He sneaks out of bed and he's about to pull a real Cosby. Cut back to Greg and Camille making out. The dad then comes into the room. Greg's like on top of Camille. Apparently he can't tell there's two people there. Well, I guess the lights are off. But he apparently can't feel there's two people in the bed. the dad comes down and sits next to Greg, who he thinks is this girl, and he starts like touching his back,
and then pulls the sheets
and he's
down.
like, "Oh, is there anything you need? I can help you. Yeah." And then
water?
Yeah. How about a pill?
Is that you, Camille?
Didn't you say you had a headache?
Yeah.
Camille. And then, he starts pulling down the covers. And here, I wrote some things, he says. Which, by the way, Camille thinks this is funny while this is going on.
Laughing.
She's like underneath going like, Camille, your dad is trying to rape what he thought was a female friend of yours that you brought back to the house. So the dad says these things, goes,
Sure have a wonderful body. Your skin is so tight.
And
goes,
he starts pulling
I
the
like
sheet down to his ass.
Yeah, he goes, I like tight skin. And then he grabs his ass and he goes, oh, yes, your butt is nice and firm. Oh, I love firm butts. And he kisses him on the ass. And Greg, meanwhile, is like silent screaming, like, ah, and Camille's just laughing.
I like firm young girls.
Then all of a sudden, the mom, Mildred, walks in the room and flips on the light and catches everybody. Do we find out what happens? No. Cut to cop on the beach.
Yeah.
Will we ever find out what happens in this scene?
No.
I would have liked to have seen the dad be arrested.
Cut to cop car outside of residence.
Cut to dad sharing his cell with Bill Cosby. You too, huh, buddy?
I see the spoon until the pudding too.
So Zaz is on the beach. His mom shows up. He's like, here, the keys are in the sand. She's like, I can't find them. I'll be right back. He's like crying. He's like, Mommy, don't go. Who fucking cares? Cut back to Moon and Bobby at the garage. They wake up in the morning. Moon gets all pissed again because Bobby's working on his van.
What in the hell are you doing? Rebuilding your engine?
Again, she's some kind of bipolar.
Yes.
You cannot win with this girl. Bobby, run. And
should have stayed with that girl in the trailer. She storms off. She's going to the race. He goes, I don't even know where it is. She goes, why don't you ask to shoot, you son of a bitch? And then just drives away. Okay, I do love this part, though. By the way, this movie's almost over. There's only one more scene. Nothing has happened.
No.
And this is the thing, is like when nothing happens for an hour, oh boy.
Yeah.
When nothing happens for an hour and a half, it starts to drag on you.
Yeah, it's like sandpaper on one's back.
Yeah. So Chooch pulls up. He's got a for sale sign on the Choochie Choochie Bang Bang.
Yeah. And
he's wearing a horrible, like, flower shirt. And he's got his hair all, like, combed, like he's in the Beatles or something. I don't know. Bobby asks him, he goes, what the hell's going on, Chooch? You selling the car? And he goes, it's the new me. Wanda and I are getting married. The boulevard has changed. It's a bunch of young kids like you. There's nothing for me here anymore. Okay, the boulevard changed in one day, Chooch?
No.
One fucking day?
The boulevard's changed. It's a bunch of young kids like you now. There ain't nothing here for me anymore.
Well, they did put a new sign up for the boulevard.
Okay.
I think that was it.
Chooch, I think you're making a rash decision here, buddy.
Yeah.
One night?
Oh.
One night. You're wearing a flower shirt. You've got your hair cut. You're selling the Choochie Chooch.
It's Leon. Leon? That's my real name.
Cut to the race. Moon and Bobby race. Greg is dressed like Freddy Krueger. He is wearing Freddy Krueger's shirt.
Yeah.
He really is. I have some theories about what happened to Greg after this movie. Bobby wins the race. Moon gets really pissed. For some reason, she like gets all mad and she says, you care more about your van than me. And then Bobby says this line. He goes, come on, Moon, don't give me that shit. And he screams and all pissed.
Come on, Moon, now just don't give me that shit.
Go hug your precious van. You care more about it than you do me anyway.
And then he goes, you want to see how much I care about this van? Huh? And he gets in his van. What's he do, Chris? What's he do?
He goes full speed in this van towards a cliff. I mean, a cliff. And he jumps out of the van at the last second, at the last possible second, off the cliff. And the van rolls down this hill, and it is just destroyed. Like,
Yeah, rolls over.
yeah, and
Another movie where a van gets wrecked.
yeah, because no, it's not a Crown movie unless there's a van getting wrecked.
Yep.
And what happens in all these Crown movies after a van is wrecked, they walk away and like no one's gonna take care of this vehicle. Crap.
Let me tell you something. 3 Crown movies.
Yeah.
3 Bobbies.
Yeah.
Bobby in the van. Van crashes. Bobby and my tutor. Scooter crashes.
Yes.
Bobby and Van Nuys Boulevard. Another van crash.
Oh, man.
We have come full circle.
Yes, we have.
If your name is Bobby and you star in a Crown International picture, you are guaranteed to wreck your vehicle by the end of the movie. And it will always happen right at the end. Notice that?
Yeah.
Every single time it happens right before the last scene.
And they always walk away in the sunset with nothing,
Yep.
no consequence to this vehicle.
But this, oh God, I would have been so happy if this is how it ended. He runs over after the van crashes, and he runs over to Moon, and she gets even more mad, and she goes, "Don't touch me. Bobby, you love that van. I don't understand."
Yeah. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
She gets in her van and drives off.
Yeah.
And leaves, and everybody drives off. All of them just leave. And Bobby's standing at the end of this runway like, what the fuck, man? Like, he's like, what the hell? And they all just leave him. And the music is really, like, sad. This song is so fucking terrible. My wife was in the room while I was watching this, and she's like, what are you watching when this song goes on? And then all of a sudden, the theme song comes on.
Yeah.
The cars just turn back. Moon runs out of her van. She goes, Bobby! And they hug. And then the other cars start driving around them in circles. Cut to Van Nuys Boulevard. People driving around. The Orient Express. All the same shots we saw
It's
before.
the exact same shots. And they're longer, too.
Except we hear a voiceover of somebody going, I can't believe you sold the car, Chooch. And he goes, yeah, but you won't believe who I sold it to. And then we see Chooch's vanity plate is gone.
It says Zaz.
And Officer Zaz has become the new Chooch. How do we know this? The cops are bullying him. He's wearing the same shirt that Chooch is wearing. And then a woman comes up and flashes the cop.
And then we pan up to the sign.
Pan up to a small street sign. Not like a big traffic light type street sign. A small side street sign that says Van Nuys Boulevard.
Yeah.
Which, if you noticed, they weren't on the boulevard.
No, they were at the crossroads.
They were at the crossroads. And then I wrote, what the fuck happened in this movie? First thing we had to say is that William Sachs, who we have followed on Twitter, and we're hoping somehow follows us back.
Although, after this coverage, we don't know so much.
Is a very, very interesting guy. He had a lot of comments about this movie that some we thought might be true, or initially, I guess, guessed might have been the conditions of a Crown movie, and some we had no idea. So all in all, very interesting. He starts out by saying that he starts all his movies with a black shot. So like everything starts in black, and then it goes to something.
Yeah.
So in this one, it started with black, and then it pulled up to the van pulling away there. And about that van, that he said, that van barely ran. So when we made fun of it, saying like, it doesn't look like it's much of a race car, it's not. In fact, they only picked that van because it was cheap and they planned on crashing it. So we talked about this in the original version of the podcast, Chris. You brought up the fact that this movie, conception and completion, 3 months.
Yes.
We learned from the commentary that the whole script was written in 7 days.
And the Lord rested.
And they shot the movie in 14 days. And apparently, I couldn't really understand what he was saying, but apparently Crown just called him up and said they needed something with cruising in it, and like he seemed like the guy who'd be into cruising. Basically, the way a Crown movie works is how Chris and I always suspected. Is Crown comes up with these ideas they want in a movie, like basically a school project. So they go, all right, well, you can do whatever you want as long as you meet these guidelines.
And here are your partners.
He's basically said, as long as you stick to their list of requests, all you need to do is put a lot of nudity in it, stick to their list of requests, and you can do whatever you want with the story.
It sounds like a trap.
Yeah. So we've long suspected that was how Crown makes a movie, and I was very happy to be justified in our thinking.
Always a catch.
Now, this is very interesting. We might have brought this up in the podcast, but we have brought it up before. It seemed weird to us that every time we cover a Crown movie, the main character, if he's a guy, is always named Bobby. Well, Chris?
Mystery solved. Apparently, it is a request, if not a requirement, that all male leads are named Bobby.
One of the producers at Crown.
Yeah.
Any movie that he did, it was a requirement, not a suggestion, a requirement that you name your character Bobby.
You have to wonder if that producer's son was Bobby, or a childhood friend, a pet, a girlfriend.
I don't think the producer's name was Bobby, so I don't know why.
Yeah.
He also says they picked Wednesday night for the cruise night in the movie, but he said in the commentary he has no idea why. So
why not Friday?
Relevance.
You know?
I don't know.
Saturday, it's hopping.
Wednesday just seems like an odd day.
Bingo night, cruise night.
So he claims that after the movie was released, it was so popular that the cops had to close down Van Nuys Boulevard because cruising was getting too popular.
I'm calling bullshit. I'm sorry. I believe they were closing it down long before this film and long after this film came into existence. But that's a nice advertisement marketing ploy.
I trust them. The car crash scene, well, not really car crash scene, but when they were beating up the cars, when Greg and the jock guy are trying to beat up each other's cars, is exactly what we thought it was. They just kind of rolled camera, and apparently Bill just said, go ahead and destroy them, and then they were surprised when the cars can't just be destroyed with a sledgehammer.
Yeah, they took numerous swipes at it. They even had they said crew members go at it too, and different people on set that were just around.
Yeah, he said they just started bringing in random people during the shot to see who could tear the car apart, and all they could do is break windows.
They got people from the Y.
Then about that splashing scene, how we wondered, like, oh, what the hell is this? So that's on Crown's list. That was one scene they specifically said needed to be in the movie, was a sex scene with food.
Yeah. You have to wonder if the only reason this diner exists is for this scene, and that's it. Yeah. I think that's the only reason he goes to a diner. Otherwise, we don't need it.
Which he also said the diner was not a drive-in diner. It was, I forget what he said it was.
It wasn't like an A&W?
Oh, it was an A&W.
A&W, yeah.
Yeah, it was not a drive-in, and they didn't exist anymore, so they just made it up in Downey. They just decorated it. God. And they came up with the name Pleasure.
Oh, that was the name?
Yeah.
Oh, that was the sign. Yeah. That's right, yeah.
The lady who drives the motorcycle, they said it was very difficult to try and find a attractive woman who could drive a motorcycle, and that she was the only one that came in that said she could do both, but she couldn't ride a motorcycle.
No.
And at one scene, when she was riding with Greg off and they make fun of those guys, they crashed into a bunch of bushes. She did not.
She couldn't stop.
Which also, when they go to that biker party, again, on the list of scenes that Crown required was a, quote, fantasy biker party.
Fantasy biker party.
Fantasy biker party.
So
this list...
How do you put fantasy and biker together? I didn't think it could be done.
Just
it can.
Ask Crown.
Yeah, that's William Sachs.
Magic Mountain. So, okay. We thought maybe this was more of a commercial for Magic Mountain. It seems like they somehow got to use Magic Mountain, and I know they were promoting the Revolution for sure.
Yeah.
If you can't tell by the 9 times that people say it. Magic Mountain made them park on the... And we talk about in the podcast how the geography of that park is all over the place. Apparently Magic Mountain made them park on the whole other side of the park and lug all their equipment through the park during park hours, I believe, to get to the Revolution. And they were guaranteed half the day. But when they got there, Magic Mountain said, you have 2 hours. You will not be able to mount the camera onto the roller coaster. You can only ride it for 2 hours, and then we need it back for the regular day.
They so want this word to get out about their new ride that they're willing to go above and beyond to promote it.
Now, I don't know if you've ever been part of shooting even a short film or anything, but I can tell you from experience that 2 hours is not enough time.
Yeah.
So apparently this caused a lot of tension.
2 hours is barely a rehearsal, if anything.
No, yeah. I mean, 2 hours is like what it takes to get set up most of the time.
Yeah.
So this caused a lot of tension, and in fact, Bill all of a sudden breaks down in the middle of the commentary and goes, "Oh, this is when the fight happened," which we were like, "Wait, excuse me?"
Because they're in line for it at this point.
Apparently, a crew member who was very integral to the production forgot equipment, and they got in some sort of argument, and he grabbed Williams' shirt and ripped it, and he says that he punched him in the face and simultaneously said, "You're fired." And that he hit his glasses off his face, and everybody hated this guy so much that the crew just started stomping on his sunglasses after he knocked him on the ground, which nowadays would definitely end in a lawsuit.
Yeah.
For sure.
You could buy plenty more sunglasses after that lawsuit. Bring it on.
But apparently he was so integral to the production, they couldn't get rid of him for the day. So he said something like the AD had to separate them, but they were still having to work on set the same day. And then he came back the next day asking for a check with a black eye.
Yeah.
But it's all good because Bill said later on in his life, he met this man again in a men's room in a urinal. And they just looked at each other and started laughing.
I want to know, how do they recognize each other?
I don't know, but I imagine it would be a lot like that Savage Street scene when Jake and the Beefcake guy kiss each other and then kind of just look at each other and start laughing. And also that shot of Colossus when we say, well, that seemed really out of place. Well, it was. They didn't have enough time in the park, so they drove out to a parking lot to get this shot, and they just kind of had crew people stand in front of it so it looked like they were still in the park. And he said, all of a sudden, some weird, like, old car showed up, like an old station wagon, and this, like, farmer guy gets out, and he's dressed in overalls and, like, a straw hat and everything, and he just starts asking him questions, like, what are you doing, and all this, and they tell him, oh, we're shooting a movie. Turns out that was James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
Just showed up.
Fantastic.
Apparently he owned a ranch over in Valencia, I think. So the dance scene, which we find really out of place, Crown's List. They required there to be a disco scene. So again, it's like when you said earlier in an episode, I don't know if it was this one or not, where basically the plot of this movie is you take a bunch of Jenga blocks and just toss them around and you got yourself a movie. Well, that kind of was. Crown just basically said you need all these things, and it was up to you to find out how to connect them together. Because the disco makes no sense. And throughout the whole commentary, Bill's just talking about how he doesn't like it, how it goes on way too long. It doesn't make any sense.
It went on it was excruciating how long that scene went. And that he didn't mention anything about runtime, did he? Because that was just
no. He says he did not have final cut, by the way. So they would basically take the footage that you shot.
Yeah.
You could kind of edit it, but they do their own cut and release it.
Yeah.
So there was no time. He said basically, 2 weeks later, this thing's in the drive-in. So.
Yeah. That sucks.
And the Kansas City Glitter Girls were actually real people. They were cheerleaders for some Kansas City team that the Kansas City distributor required to be in the movie in order to carry it. Cindy Wood, who plays Moon, he saw her again. He said that this is such a random story. He just goes, I was going to a movie with my wife, and we were waiting in line, and this lady turns around and looks at us, and she goes, "Are you William Sachs or Bill Sachs?" And he's all, "Yeah." She's like, "Hey, I'm Cindy Wood." That was the end of the story. That's all he gave us, and he said she didn't look anything like she used to. I don't know if that's a compliment or what.
Yeah.
Oh, about the dance scene too. They didn't have enough extras, he said. So half the people dancing are crew members.
Awesome. That must have been like a fun day.
Also, okay, so I didn't write this down, but Bill Adler, we talked about him earlier and how, for some reason, if Crown was making a movie and Adler was around, he's in it. Bill called him the resident Brando of Crown International. So, like, Bill Adler's, like, on the payroll or something. Yeah. And they just fit him in whenever they have a movie. For some reason, they were really big fans of him. I mean, I can see why. I'm a big fan. I love Bill Adler.
Yeah, he's great. And when you're always available like that and you're easy to work with, who he seems to be like...
I don't know about the Brando, though. I'd say more
Yeah.
like the Walken, like you said.
Yeah, he is. He really is.
He also said, so this is very interesting that we didn't know, is that most of these movies are really bright.
Yeah.
And he said the reason they're bright is Crown told them they needed to make the movies extra bright for the drive-in screen, or else it wouldn't show up correctly. So when you transfer it to home video, sometimes it looks oddly bright.
Yeah, you have to turn down the backlight on your LED TV or LCD TV
Yeah.
like all the way, or else your retinas are going to get scorched or something along those lines.
So that hippie guy that confronts Officer Zaz
Oh, my
on the
God.
beach, he was actually a member of the Manson family. And as Bill puts it, he left before it got weird.
The family, that is.
Obviously, the Manson stuff happened well before this movie came out. But apparently he was a member, and he left. Okay, so in the commentary, we talk about that stupid sandwich scene and how we're like, who would that ever happen to? Well, the whole thing. Chris, go.
It actually happened.
The whole thing, though, from the sandwich to the hospital, all of it's real.
Yeah.
He said they were with some guy on like a shoot or something, he said, and somebody brought a bunch of hoagies, and they were eating these sandwiches. That guy's jaw locked up, and they tried to bring him to the hospital, and nobody knew his name, so they had to write, like, and he couldn't write down his own, or I don't know why he couldn't write down. Oh, no, the nurse wouldn't let you write it down. I remember that. Yeah, so he couldn't tell anybody his name. Nobody knew his name. Yeah. Which I don't know why he didn't have an ID on him, but yeah.
Different time.
And the last bit of commentary was the dog from the movie was from the Brady Bunch.
And that tidbit was given to us as the credits were rolling, like 5 seconds before it
Yeah,
made it to
so
black.
this
Like you hear this
commentary-
guy out of the back. Oh, by the way, the dog is with the Brady Bunch.
This commentary ends amazing. It's like William Sachs is still, he's like talking to somebody in the booth, and he's like, why didn't you get on the mic? Why didn't you get on the mic? And we're like, what the fuck is he talking about? And then all of a sudden this guy comes on, and he goes like, oh yeah, hey, the dog was in the Brady Bunch. And then he's like, oh yeah, you should have been talking more. You got any more tidbit? And then all of a sudden it cuts to black pretty much. And that's it.
Back to the DVD menu.
Oh well.
And might I add, it ended just as spectacularly as it began. Remember how that started with him? He wasn't comfortable enough, apparently.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot. Yeah, he starts the movie. He goes, "Well, this is the second take. I wasn't comfortable the first time. Now I'm good to go." And we want to know. I want to know. What happened in that first take?
Some chairs were broken over faces. Some furniture was replaced.
You think he punched somebody?
Probably.
If there was a sequel to this movie, what it would be called and what would happen?
It would be called Van Nuys High.
Van Nuys High. Okay.
Yeah. So the Boulevard is still a part of it, but we've already experienced Boulevard. This time we want to experience. It's a new generation of kids. We find out at the very end, it's actually going to be the kids of Greg, of Bobby, and the Chooch. But we don't know this until the very end, when it comes full circle. But we don't know it's the end because nothing happens throughout this entire movie.
It's just another movie where nothing fucking happens.
It has the namesake of Van Nuys Boulevard, but
you know what would be great is
it's
like
just the name.
It's just, you see this movie with all these different characters, right?
Yeah.
And they just go in, they fuck around. Maybe they go to Six Flags again. They check out all the new rides now that have been built. Maybe they see a guy in a wheelchair hitting a trash can. Then at the very end of the movie, these old people walk up, and it's just Bobby, Chooch, and Greg.
Yeah.
And that's how you know the only connection is there's like, oh, they just go, oh, hey, Dad.
Yep.
And that's how the movie ends.
That's it.
And then Moon comes up real pissed. And then they go to Granny Clampett's funeral.
Actually, they just drag her around the course dead. Drag her body around the
Yeah, Chooch goes,
the
hey, you can't
go-kart.
break my record now, you dead bitch.
and he races. He beats the record with her tied to the back of the go-kart, dragging her around. Yeah, who's last now, huh?
It reminds me of this Gary Busey movie.
Oh, yeah.
We'll talk about it one day. Anyways, my sequel for Van Nuys Boulevard.
All right.
Well, it doesn't take place with anybody else except Greg.
Mm.
So Greg has become a janitor for a school. And he has this real proclivity for young children. And one day, the parents catch him. And instead of reporting him to the police, they decide to burn him in the furnace of the school. And then Greg comes back and haunts all their nightmares.
Yeah.
That's my sequel to Van Nuys Boulevard.
See, at first, I thought you were going to go the cheerleaders route.
Greg becomes a janitor at Amorosa High. And he hasn't gotten any in a long time. And he finds this guy named Big John. And he's like, look, I'm going to supply the drugs to you, but you supply the girls. I got this whole house set up where I put my head in a wig and... It's a really... I can't even explain it to you. It's just really complex, but bottom line, I stick my tongue out and I try to lick her. I got a bear suit. It's going to be great, okay? Look, long time ago, I had this good friend. His name was Chooch. Motherfucker threw up on the revolution. I mean...
Wild time.
I've been there, okay, boy? I've been there. Okay. Uh-oh. I just heard it. Oh my God, I got the alert on my phone.
Yep.
Amber alert.
Yep.
Oh, is that Sammy Johns I hear?
I think it is.
Oh my God, is that a lamp electrocuting somebody?
The obituary just popped up in my newsfeed.
Oh my God. DeVito's here and he's got some money. Chris, how would Van Nuys Boulevard connect with the van? Go.
Okay, so the van rolls over at the end of this movie. And after the credits, I like these after credit sequences. So the credits have rolled. We cut back to this van leaning on its side. This car pull up, and this guy in a cowboy suit gets out. So, oh goddamn, holy shit! Oh, this here. He calls his boy, and this guy is wearing these kind of big Elvis-looking sunglasses. And he goes, "What told us back to the yard, boy? I mean to make a say. We all soup the sumbitch up." So, he's dressed very Cal Worthington. Cowboy outfit and everything.
Yeah, you'd see this man owns a dealership.
This man owns a dealership. So they bring this van back, and this guy's working on it. He goes, we're out.
Wait, when the guy picked it up, did he go like, is that all?
Yeah.
Did the Cal Worthington guy go, is that all? And what did the guy respond with?
The guy goes, and more. So they get the van towed, but they don't bother to put the van on its tires. It's still on its side, getting towed back, so it's scraping across the ground. Sparks are flying. And so when they get it there's this giant hole in the side. So they go, well, we got to put a big window there. So they put this big dome window on the side, and they're looking around for paint. You know what? This van will look really fucking tight black. No, we already used the black paint, though, when this van, it's went at the school, it's... Linda Blair went there. We saw the paint there for that van. So all we got is yellow, blue, and red. So just kind of...
We'll just sell it to some real sucker.
I mean, it's 11. It's 11 if we ever sell one. You know what? This thing's a piece of shit. It's been rolled. It's an accident. So let's throw a waterbed in there. Throw a toaster.
Fucking toaster.
Throw a drink rack. And a drink holder. A rack.
And a TV. But you know what? Who knows? There ain't no fucking antenna in here.
No.
And VCRs don't exist.
No. So no later than the paint is dry, this red-headed kid comes around and throws down some money. And lo and behold, we never see his face. All we see this banana on the ground, right? And so we hear the bell ring for like when a customer enters, and you go, "Oh, he's here." And next thing we see this foot hit the banana, and then we cut to black.
Okay. My theory.
Yeah.
We know Bill Adler's in the van.
Yeah.
This movie is the prequel to the van.
Yeah.
I think that Bill Adler, who I don't think we ever find out his name in the van, is named Bobby.
Mm-hmm.
I think now that he's down on his luck and he doesn't have any van or any money or anywhere to live because he just ran away from home from some state. We don't know where the fuck it was. He just said California earlier. He has to get a job.
Yep.
So he meets this guy / bookie that runs a car wash.
Yes.
He gets a job there. he meets this ginger kid, another kid named Bobby.
Yeah.
And he just thinks to himself the whole time, he's like, I used to have a van. And he gets real jealous of his van. There's going to be some times where he drives around in his new van, which looks suspiciously like the van in this movie.
Because it is.
Yeah. This movie, in my opinion, is definitely a prequel to the van.
Yep.
And I think that Bill Adler's character is the same character in the van.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
I'm glad we both had the prequel route in mind for this, because it so is. There's no way it can't be.
So that's it for this episode of The Grindbin. Next week, we are taking a request, believe it or not, and we are covering Invasion of the B-Girls.
Yes. Total request Grindbin, and then we will have some surprises.
Oh, I can't wait. Chris did the research on this one.
I have some nuggets
totally
for you.
Dark.
Some nuggets. Get the honey and the ranch ready. We're going to dip some nuggets.
Oh, all right. Well, thanks for joining us, and as always, you can find us on twitter.com/grindpod, facebook.com, we're on there as well, and grindhousefilm.com. Please, leave us a comment on there. We've had some people go on the website, not too many people go on the website. They all seem to find us on Twitter or Facebook, but wherever you find us. Let us know if you like the show. Let us know if you have any suggestions. We're all in this together.
And don't forget our iTunes store. Hit that little rectangular purple button that says subscribe. We would love that very much. You can never miss another bin.
Yes, and if you like the show, please rate and review it. It really, really helps us out and helps more people listen to it.